Chapter 369. Golden Sparrow Bridge. It was the passage that connected the Great Wall of the Saint Relic to Earth. Lin Feng knew the Golden Sparrow Bridge very well. It was magnificent and majestic, like crossing the Milky Way. Not only was it connected to the outside world, but it was also a trial bridge. As long as the Huaxia descendants reached the standard, they could enter the Golden Sparrow Bridge and choose a holy treasure according to their performance in the trial. The true martial emperor had obtained the Tai Chi Taoist robe. The dragon-killing island lord had obtained the top treasure, the soul-severing cube. The Golden Sparrow Bridge has a total of 7 levels. I believe you already know the rules of the treasure selection, right? Ji Xianyuan smiled. Lin Feng nodded. As long as one entered the Golden Sparrow Bridge, even if they didn't pass a single level, they would be rewarded. The true martial emperor hadn't passed the first level. After all, he was only a beginner titled expert when he entered the Saint Relic. Normally, one would need to be stronger than a titled expert to pass the first level. Of course, some people were lucky, such as the dragon-killing island lord, who had passed the second level by accident. There are 3 treasures in each level. If I enter the second stage, I can obtain a mid-level holy treasure that is most suitable for me, a relatively useful high-level holy treasure, or a top-level holy treasure that is not commensurate with my strength. Lin Feng walked towards the Golden Sparrow Bridge, his eyes shining. To do a good job, one must first sharpen his tools. From hearsay to hearsay? Blinking your eyes? Chong? Toad? Zero was a beginner stellar civilization, the Dark Demon World was a developing stellar civilization, and the Nemo planet had reached the limit of a stellar civilization. Cosmic Civilization Level 2. 9. Just one more step and they would officially enter the stellar civilization level. Compared to Earth's shabby 0. 9, the difference was like heaven and earth. The level isn't the most important thing. What's important is whether it's suitable for use. Lin Feng knew very well that the dragon-killing island lord had chosen the top treasure, the soul-severing cube. What was the result? He placed it in the treasure vault and didn't use it at all until he died. I'm doing this to tell the Chinese descendants. Too greedy and you'll get nothing. Lin Feng smiled. He nodded to senior brother Xianyuan and entered. Wow. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was as if he had entered a wonderland. It was beautiful and magnificent. Faint clouds and mist filled this space, making it seem like a dream. Stepping on the clouds, Lin Feng was relaxed and looked around curiously. It was different from what he had expected. There wasn't any suffocating pressure here. It was like a paradise above the clouds. As long as one was a descendant of Huaxia, they would be able to enter the Golden Sparrow Bridge to train, but they would only have one chance. Although I can cross the Golden Sparrow Bridge an unlimited number of times. However, there must be a gap of 1 year between the second time and the first time. Lin Feng was also helpless. Previously, he had planned to purposely fail in the first round to obtain an extra reward. It wasn't impossible, but the reward for the second stage could only be obtained after a year, and the next time he came back, he would be back. Even if it wasn't 3 years later, he would definitely have become a perfect human. At that time, what use would the reward for the second stage be? This time, I'll directly take the reward for the second stage. Or the third stage. Lin Feng walked forward. In the distance, he could vaguely see a Golden Sparrow Bridge. It was different from the Sparrow Bridge outside. It was much smaller and more ordinary. In front of the Golden Sparrow Bridge, 2 figures stood on the left and right. Lin Feng looked over. It was a man and a woman. They had the face of a Huaxia person. When they saw him, they smiled. The man was dressed in coarse hemp clothes. He looked like a farmer, honest, strong and handsome, and his smile was very friendly. The woman was beautiful. Her plain clothes couldn't hide her peerless beauty. Her eyes were full of hope as she looked at him with a smile. 32nd Young Master. The man in plain clothes smiled and greeted. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. He was a little confused and couldn't figure it out. The cowherd and I were saved by the sovereign. We were able to settle down and recognize him as our master. The woman in plain clothes smiled elegantly. Since the young master has become the sovereign's disciple, we should address him as such. Time flies like a white steed flitting across a crack. It has been hundreds of years since the birth of the 31st young master. Cowherd, Sparrow Bridge? You are the weaver girl? Lin Feng was stunned. Yes, my wife. The cowherd smiled and looked at the weaver girl. Their eyes met and were full of affection. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had heard the story of the cowherd and the weaver girl and thought it was just a myth. So this person really existed? Could it be that those myths are true? Lin Feng thought to himself. At this moment, young master, you can choose me or my wife to fight one-on-one. Or you can directly cross the Golden Sparrow Bridge. The cowherd smiled and introduced. 1 out of 3. The rules were simple and crude. Lin Feng thought for a while and smiled. I challenge you, senior cowherd. The weaver girl gave him the feeling that the power of the soul from her beautiful eyes was very strong. He believed that she should be of the Saint Force lineage. The cowherd's physique was strong and sturdy. He should be like him, with the earth's soul as his main force, walking the Saint Chi lineage. If he wanted to fight, he naturally preferred to use real swords and spears. Moreover, he couldn't do that to the weaver girl. As for directly crossing the Golden Sparrow Bridge, it was unknown. The difficulty wouldn't be low. Okay. The cowherd smiled and took a step forward, blocking the flashing light of the Golden Sparrow Bridge. The weaver girl immediately disappeared, forming a one-on-one battle. The cowherd's aura instantly increased, revealing the strength of an intermediate tribal warrior in the dark demon world. I'm sorry, young master. Master has ordered that the difficulty of any disciple who passes the level will be increased, the cowherd said. Lin Feng nodded. Very fair. The other Huaxia experts only had one chance to pass the level, but he could pass it countless times. It was normal to increase the difficulty. The cowherd said, Young master, you don't have to show mercy. This is just a power clone. Okay. Lin Feng took out the 9U Thunderblade. Boom. In an instant, his fighting spirit was ignited. It was effortless. Lin Feng easily passed the first level. Although he also had the strength of an intermediate tribal warrior, it was like a piece of gold and stone of the same size. The difference in hardness was huge. In terms of physical fitness, Lin Feng was already at the level of a tribal warrior. The full strength of his titanium-grade body was unstoppable. That day, when he faced the intermediate warrior-level Crane Pill, he was only defeated. However, that was a spar. If it was a life-and-death battle, it would be different. Lin Feng entered the second level. In other words, even if he failed, he could at least obtain a barely usable high-level holy treasure, or a very suitable intermediate holy treasure. But if he could win, then the reward would increase again. Lin Feng strolled on the clouds and slowly walked towards the Golden Sparrow Bridge. There was no difference between this and the first level. The only difference was that the Golden Sparrow Bridge was longer and wider. And again, senior cowherd. Lin Feng pointed the 9U Thunderblade at the cowherd in coarse linen and smiled. After warming up, his fighting spirit was completely aroused. Okay. The cowherd smiled foolishly. This time, the strength of the cowherd's power clone had already reached the level of intermediate tribal warrior. Chapter 370. Thunder and lightning slay the true dragon. Lin Feng roared. The fourth tier of the titanium body erupted, and the 9 Serenity Thunderblade once again showed its brilliance. The dark holy chi and the thunder holy chi blended, and the image of the Nether Shura condensed in the air. It was like the divine general of the heavens, the Shura of hell, with monstrous power. The tyrannical blade will, with a domineering aura, blasted out Lin Feng's strongest move. Bang! The thunder was endless. Heaven and earth shook, and Cowherd's power avatar dissipated. The second level broken. The third level. Lin Feng looked at Cowherd in front of him and smiled bitterly. The gap was too big. The majestic power instantly swallowed him. Cowherd did not perform any complicated and exquisite moves, but his pure power was enough. A wild bull roared in the void, bearing the impact of absolute power. Lin Feng was defeated without any suspense. Whoosh! Lin Feng appeared in a special space. 3 treasures were suspended in front of him. On the left was a black ball, which looked like a solid iron ball at first glance, but on closer inspection, there were lines on the ball. It was very delicate and covered with mechanisms. Although there were no gaps, he could feel the dark energy contained in the black ball. This was a dark-type holy treasure. A high-level holy treasure, and it must be a treasure that suits me very well. The moment he saw the black ball, Lin Feng's gaze was already attracted by it. Although it was the lowest grade of the 3 treasures, the worst one, it was just right for the current him. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade and the Blood Walker boots were both high-level holy treasures. Moreover, his strongest was the Dark Holy Chi, which he planned to major in the future. After all, with the Dark Light Ball, the Dark Holy Chi's cultivation speed was the fastest, and its aptitude was also the strongest. Cultivating multiple Holy Chis at the same time. At present, it would take twice as long, but he would not get the benefits he should have. The second treasure was a book. A golden book. It lay quietly in the center, visible but untouchable. There was no writing on the top of the book, and it could not be opened. Heart Sutra? Martial Arts Sutra? Secret book? Or all kinds of strange and miscellaneous secret arts? Lin Feng was filled with doubts. However, no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't find anything. The only thing he was clear about was that the value of this golden book was higher than the black ball on the left. A top-grade holy treasure, Lin Feng thought to himself. The value of this book was the same as the soul-severing 4-color cube. Far right, such power. Lin Feng looked at the scepter on his right. It flickered with a sparkling and translucent golden luster. Its light covered the other 2 holy treasures, emitting a rich golden energy. This was a treasure without any flaws and possessed great power. Perfect holy treasure. But it's not practical. Lin Feng shook his head. It was not a good feeling to be able to see but not be able to eat. It was impossible for him to cultivate the holy chi of gold for a perfect holy treasure. Putting the cart before the horse. The only choice now was, it was a 100%, very suitable dark-type high-grade holy treasure. Or perhaps he couldn't see anything wrong with it, but logically speaking, it was a golden book that could barely be used. Oh! Lin Feng sank into deep thought. Earth. There was a huge change. When the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fishermen would benefit. Ancient Huaxia country. The sea monsters had been fighting fiercely before, but now they had given up and were unable to recover from the setback. The Pharaoh King Tutenmeng had appeared out of nowhere. With his strength alone, he could not set off a storm, but he had a sphinx. Although it had just entered the realm of a low-level monster lord, it was stronger than the Dark Moon Viper. Especially on land, it was a heaven-defying existence. Apart from the Sphinx, there was no one else. There was not a single monster on Earth, and its strength was 2 levels higher. To command the monsters on land. What was so difficult about it? Although the monsters on land were less than 1% of the monsters on the sea, that was only relative. Compared to humans, the monsters on land were powerful enough. Ancient Huaxia Science Research Institute. Madman, what a madman! Wanma shook his head. He treats human lives like grass, doesn't care about slaughtering, and associates himself with monsters. He has lost his humanity. Zhou Jingyi frowned and looked at the screen in front of him. It was a picture taken by a satellite. In the video, Tutenmeng was slaughtering the European Union. Corpses were everywhere, and it was a sea of blood. It was like purgatory on Earth. Fortunately, Marshal, you endured the humiliation and Huaxia escaped. Lan Feiping shook his head. Wenma also sighed softly. If martial justice had not pretended to surrender that day, the people of Huaxia would have suffered in the video. It's useless. Zhou Jingyi's expression was solemn. He won't treat you as a human. The European Union and ancient Greece are already in ruins. Among the 7 ancient countries, other than ancient Egypt, the only one with a large population and thriving is Huaxia. Before he could finish speaking, suddenly, beep, beep. The alarm sounded hurriedly. Everyone, including Zhou Jingyi, turned pale. The technicians' fingers flew as they switched the screen. They saw thousands of beasts galloping, baring their teeth and looking fierce. Their fur was stained with dark red blood stains. In the middle of the herd of beasts was Tutenmeng, whose eyes were cold and murderous. He was back. Madness. Tutenmeng's eyes were bloodshot with madness. The thrill of killing appeared in his heart, and his blood surged with joy. He wanted to kill continuously. From birth until now, Tutenmeng had been living like an ascetic monk. He was already sick of it. Now, he just wanted to vent the madness in his heart. Roar! The Sphinx roared arrogantly. All the beasts looked fierce. Their auras were so strong that they could flatten the ground and shake the earth. Almighty God! This is your believer Tutenmeng's blood sacrificed to you. Ha 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 ha! We worship you with our blood and lives. It's here. It's really here. Zhou Jingyi's expression was ugly. The scene that he didn't want to see the most had finally happened. Feiping, Tu Hu, lead the military and guard the defense line. Bai Jie, you and Zi Shu, lead the martial arts dojo and Zi family to protect the defense system. Lin Zhan and Li Jixing are leading the martial arts dojos from the Elemental Commerce Alliance and the First Bank of Huaxia. They will arrive soon. Zhou Jingyi's gaze was sharp. Even though danger had arrived, he still arranged the tasks in an orderly manner and evacuated the people. If a battle really breaks out, remember to stay away from Tutenmeng and the Sphinx. Try your best to kill those beasts. Understood. Yes, Marshal. Everyone was filled with pride. After experiencing so many life-or-death battles, they didn't care about life and death anymore. Marshal, you. Lan Feiping hesitated. I still want to give it a try. Zhou Jingyi's expression was solemn. As long as there's a chance, we have to try. If we can pacify Tutenmeng's madness, that's naturally good. If we can't, at least, we have to stall for more time, because we still have hope. Zhou Jingyi's sonorous voice resonated with everyone. They looked at each other and smiled. This was a smile that didn't give up even in a desperate situation, because they still had hope. Chapter 371. With a flash of light, Lin Feng quickly made a choice. I already have 2 high-grade holy treasures. One is the 9U Thunderblade, and the other is the Bloodwalker Boot. It has both attack and speed. For defense, I also have the Dark Crystal Armor purchased in the Dark Demon World. It has a special defense against the Dark Holy Qi. Although I don't know its grade, it is worn by tribal warriors. Even if it is not a high-grade holy treasure, I believe it is not much worse. There is also the soul-breaking 4-color square, a top-grade holy treasure. Lin Feng was calm and analyzed carefully. Although the black ball on the left was the most suitable for him, it was only a high-grade holy treasure after all. For him now, there was no shortage of it. It was naturally good to be able to get it, but it was at most icing on the cake, and it was of limited help to improve his strength. But the Golden Book was different. Being placed in the middle meant that its value was equivalent to a top-grade holy treasure. Of course, it might not necessarily be suitable for him, but just like the Taiji Taoist robe obtained by Zhen Wu, this Golden Book could definitely be used by him. Most importantly, its quality was better than that of the black ball. I'll bet. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and took off the Golden Book. Half and half. There was a 50% chance that the Golden Book would increase his strength less than the black ball. Similarly, there was a 50% chance that it would exceed. On the border line, Zhou Jingyi came alone, carrying a heavy burden on his shoulders. He believed that there was always a way out, and that ancient Huaxia would be able to get through the difficulties because Huaxia had him. How many battles had there been with no possibility of winning, and how many times had he survived? What was this now? Standing resolutely, Zhou Jingyi's body was like steel. As a soldier, he was not afraid of death, as long as he could contribute to Huaxia. So what if he died 100 times or 1,000 times? It was heavier than Mount Tai. They're coming. The wind and sand rolled in front of him, and the roar of monsters resounded in the endless wilderness. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were bright, and he saw the dense black dots in the distance. It was like an ant plague. The difference was, these monsters were far stronger than ants. In the capital, the defense system was all activated. Thanks to M country's technology sharing, the defense structure of Huaxia's technology had exceeded the SSS level. There were 2 defenses that supported and cooperated with each other, and could be switched at any time to replenish and repair. Their endurance was much higher than before. Lan Feiping and Tu, who were guarding the first line of defense. When faced with danger, military experts would always stand at the forefront. They were not afraid of sacrifice. The second line of defense consisted of the powerhouses from the Elemental Merchant Alliance and the First Bank of Huaxia. While they were not as numerous as the military, they had more powerhouses than the military. Yi Fan, Han Fei, and the newly appointed Merchant Alliance Master, Huang Tian, as well as Li Tieji from the First Bank of Huaxia. The number of Sea King-class powerhouses they had was double that of the military. Standing at the forefront, it was Lin Zhan and Li Jisheng. We can't escape. We have to fight in the end. Lin Zhan was wearing the Leo constellation gold saint garment. His aura was stronger than before. It's tribulation. Li Jisheng didn't seem nervous at all. Lin Zhan looked at Li Jisheng. You are improving very quickly. Li Jisheng shook his head and said, You only have holy qi, but no ultimacy. Other than dodging and escaping, I can't compare to you. You are humble. Lin Zhan laughed heartily. You have the 3rd level of holy qi of wind, and you have condensed it into a cyclone. This is enough to show your talent. The holy qi of wind in the Shiva sect's holy temple is not of a high grade. If you had the upper grade holy qi of wind, you would have been able to condense it into a cyclone at the 2nd level. It's a pity. Li Jisheng shrugged. I still have to cultivate my talent soul. I have just entered the 5th level. Lin Zhan, whose eyes lit up. In a few years, you will be able to become a legend. You will be able to break through to the legend rank. Your future is limitless. All right. Let's stop flattering each other. Li Jisheng laughed. Compared to Lin Feng, I am still far behind. Lin Zhan also laughed. Yes. If Afeng was here, we wouldn't have to make such a big fuss. They looked at each other and laughed. Both of them were carefree people. Even if they were surrounded by enemies, they were still talking and laughing. Suddenly, Li Jisheng was slightly stunned. A light breeze surrounded his body. He opened his eyes wide and looked in front of him. That is, Lin Zhan also looked over. Sand and dust were rolling. Amidst the howling wind, a figure could be vaguely seen. Bang! As if the ground had shrunk into an inch, the figure appeared in front of them. Brother Lin. Afeng? Li Jisheng and Lin Zhan were stunned. Not only the 2 of them, but all the powerful martial artists from the military, the Elemental Merchant Alliance, and the people from the real martial dojo who were defending the innermost line felt their hearts stop for a moment. He was wearing a special cloth martial attire. His skin was a little dark, and his aura was faintly discernible. However, they could still recognize him clearly. It was Lin Feng. What's going on? Lin Feng's gaze swept the surroundings, puzzled. He had only left for a month. What disaster had happened? It's Tutanmeng, the pharaoh of Egypt, Lin Zhan said in a low voice. There is also a sphinx, a lord of beasts, Li Jixing added. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In the wilderness, Lin Feng and the other two sped forward. Often, according to Dean Wen's analysis, this sphinx is 3 to 5 times stronger than the dark moon python. Lin Zhan's expression was serious. Especially on land, its battle power is more than 10 times stronger than the dark moon python. Moreover, the pharaoh king Tutanmeng is also quite strong. He has already broken through to the legend rank. Moreover, he can use a special kind of energy to unleash power that is several times stronger than his own. Lin Feng nodded. The pharaoh king Tutanmeng. That day at the Saint Remains pyramid, he felt that he was very ambitious. He didn't expect that although he had lost his inheritance, he had still become stronger. Some things couldn't be changed. Brother Lin, weren't you at the Great Wall of the Saint Remains? Li Jixing was very curious. Where did this special cloth martial attire come from? A friend gave it to me. Lin Feng smiled slightly. It seems that Brother Lin had a special encounter in the Saint Remains, Li Jixing said. Brother Li is not bad either. Lin Feng looked at Li Jixing. With his current sensing ability, he could sense the changes in Li Jixing. It was as if he had transformed into the wind. His entire person had perfectly merged with the heavens and earth. It was very likely that he had condensed a cyclone of wind, which was quite powerful. He himself had relied on a special encounter. However, Li Jixing was cultivating on earth. We're almost there. Lin Zhan's eyes were bright, and his golden saint robe was shining brightly. He was like a lion that was ready to attack. Later, I will hold Tutanmeng back. Shaoli will attack the Sphinx and lure it away. Often, you will be responsible for secretly hunting and killing. Find an opportunity to kill Tutanmeng first. Then, the 3 of us will work together to kill the Sphinx. No problem. Li Jixing didn't hesitate. There's no need to go through so much trouble, brother. Lin Feng looked at Lin Zhan and smiled. I alone will be enough to deal with them. Chapter 372. Zhou Jingyi stood outside the border. There was no fear, no trembling. There was only determination and an iron-blooded loyalty in his bones. He was indifferent to death. Rumble! Rumble! The earth shook violently. Outside the wilderness, sand and wind covered the sky. The roars were like thunder. Tens of thousands of monsters spread their hooves and charged forward. In their eyes there was only blood and killing. The strong preyed on the weak. There was no sympathy or mercy. Including him. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Tutanmeng was riding the mighty Sphinx. His eyes were bloodshot and he was crazy. The bloody storm in Europe had completely ignited the madness in his blood. The anger in his heart burned fiercely. He wanted to kill. Kill to his heart's content. Pharaoh. Zhou Jingyi's voice was slightly anxious. However, it could not stop Tutanmeng's footsteps at all. It could not stop the fierce roars of the monster army. In Tutanmeng's eyes, Zhou Jingyi was just a servant. When had he ever seen a servant go against his master and speak to him as an equal? What a joke! Roar! The Sphinx's voice pierced through the clouds and cracked stone. He was like a high and mighty marshal, ordering the army to attack. The monsters were unusually violent. Their momentum was high. Tens of thousands of monsters galloped, wanting to flatten the land of China. Zhou Jingyi was like a lonely boat in the sea. His face was ashen. It ended here. He was very clear about what would happen next. After killing him, Tutanmeng would lead the monster army to break through the capital's defense system. Although ancient Huaxia's defense system had been upgraded, it would be difficult for it to block the tyrannical power of the monster army. The only change was how much damage the monster army would cause. That was all. Defeat was unavoidable. Ancient Huaxia would be like the European Union in the video. The people were in a terrible situation. Blood would flow like rivers. These bastards! The red dragon badge on Zhou Jingyi's shoulder shone. He activated the 9-yang scripture and powerful inner strength poured into his arms. Facing the menacing monster army, his fighting spirit was ignited. He was also a soldier. He was willing to shed his blood for Huaxia. Boom. Zhou Jingyi attacked. Even if he was alone, even if he was an ant trying to shake a tree, he did not care. Every time he killed a monster, he would be able to save hundreds and thousands of normal citizens. Boom! The blazing qi was extremely masculine. The power of the 18 dragon subduing palms. Zhou Jingyi might not have been able to unleash his full power, but with the 9-yang sutra, he was unstoppable. In an instant, he killed countless savage-level monsters and heavily injured many Sea King-level monsters. He was Zhou Jingyi, a high-level Sea King, the #1 expert in the military. However, not only did Zhou Jingyi's attack fail to intimidate the monsters, it made them even more bloodthirsty, ruthless, and angry. Countless monsters rushed toward Zhou Jingyi. There were many Annihilation-class monsters among them. Zhou Jingyi's palm energy wasn't even qualified to hurt it. The fur on his body was like pieces of diamond, and his defense was astonishing. Roar! There were also Annihilation-grade monsters. Their roars shook people's souls. Zhou Jingyi's body trembled. Instantly, he staggered a few steps. At this moment, the monsters in front of him had already charged forward. The leader of the monsters, the one with copper skin and iron bones, had claws like lightning breaking through the air. The claw wind was already so terrifying, and the claw force was like Mount Tai pressing down on him. Death Realm. Zhou Jingyi had never intended to return alive. But whoosh! In an instant, a gentle breeze blew past, and the scene in front of Zhou Jingyi changed. His entire body soared into the clouds, as if he was surrounded by a gentle breeze. Zheng was dazed. His body was already 100 meters away, and his feet touched the ground. Beside him was a familiar face. Li Jisheng. Why are you here? Zhou Jingyi's expression changed slightly. Suddenly, he saw Lin Zhan, who was beside Li Jisheng, wearing the Leo constellation gold saint garment. He was even more shocked. Both of them were here. Who else could defend the defense system of the capital city? Marshal, don't worry. Li Jisheng smiled. Lin Zhan also smiled boldly. Look over there, Marshal. Our hope is here. Zhou Jingyi was shocked. He quickly turned his head and looked over. In an instant, he was surprised. It was a plain-clothed figure. He looked like an inconspicuous warrior in an army of thousands of men and horses. However, as the battle blade in his hand rumbled, endless power of lightning surged into it. Boom! With one move, the 4 seas were settled. The ground was littered with corpses. The previously valiant, ruthless, and unrestrained monsters were instantly reduced to ashes. Zhou Jingyi widened his eyes. He only knew how terrifying Lin Feng's strength was after witnessing it with his own eyes. He used all his strength but couldn't hurt the King Kong monster at all. Lin Feng only used one slash, it was smashed into pieces. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever Lin Feng's saber went, no one was left alive. It was as clean as a butcher dismembering a cow. Every slash killed countless monsters. Lin Feng's slash seemed light, but the tyrannical monsters couldn't stop him at all. No matter how many monsters came, they would all die. Not a single monster could rush past Lin Feng. One man could hold the pass, and 10,000 could not pass. Powerful! Li Jisheng's eyes lit up. Ah Feng is already a true master of the sword. Lin Zhan sighed. The peak of the 7th realm. Lin Feng, who had already comprehended the true meaning of the 7th realm, sharpened the sword in his hand in battle after battle. He had transformed during the battle with the cowherd at the 3rd stage of the Golden Sparrow Bridge and reached the peak of the 7th realm. Now, it was no exaggeration to call him a master of the sword. He was even better than Xiang Yu, who was at the 7th realm. He was equally domineering. Block? Who could block him? There was no doubt in Lin Feng's mind about quantity, especially when the difference in strength was too great. The heavy thunder hell, which attacked groups, was perfect. Lin Feng only needed to activate a little holy qi to trigger the power of the 9 Serenity Thunderblade itself to kill a bunch of monsters. Tens of thousands of monsters. Even if there were 10 times more, it wouldn't be enough. Lin Feng. Tutenmeng spoke in broken Chinese. His eyes were bloodshot. The Huaxia man he saw in the secret room of the pyramid was right in front of him. It was this Huaxia man named Lin Feng, the leader of the new top 10 masters in the world, who caused him to lose the most precious opportunity to inherit his legacy. From a disciple to a follower's servant. The difference in status was more than 100 times. "I'm going to kill you!" Tutenmeng was furious. The Sphinx he was riding also roared ferociously. It was connected to its master's heart. A golden lion head appeared in Tutenmeng's messy hair. His eyes shone brightly. He held the top-tier holy treasure, Heka, in front of him, and it shone brightly. "God, give your followers power." The devout Tutenmeng triggered a mysterious power to fill his body. The Sphinx below him also unleashed its absolute combat power. It seemed to have sensed that the human in front of it was not to be trifled with. Its body made popping sounds, and it instantly grew several times its size. It transformed into a giant beast. Roar! It roared furiously, showing the domineering power of the Lord of Monsters. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Zhan, Li Jixing, and Zhou Jingyi felt the terrifying pressure. Their expressions changed instantly. They stared at the battlefield nervously. Chapter 373. They were very worried. The strength of Tutenmeng and the Sphinx was beyond their imagination. Lin Zhan gritted his teeth. He couldn't control the impulse in his heart. However, his arm was grabbed by Li Jixing. Zhou Jingyi's heart was racing. He looked at the huge beast in front of him. It was as powerful as the sky. It was unstoppable. But it was only for a moment. Rumble! Rumble! Giant blue lightning rumbled, and a terrifying gloom instantly descended. Lin Feng's blade transformed into the Shura of Hell. Its originally weak aura instantly exploded and suppressed Tutenmeng and the Sphinx. Qi! The blade cut through the sky. A ray of light, a dark light, mixed with furious blue lightning, split the entire space into half. Zhou Jingyi looked in front of him in shock. Tutenmeng and the Sphinx froze at that moment. Shock, horror, unwillingness, fear. All kinds of expressions froze. In an instant. But it was as if the illusion had collapsed. Li Jixing was stunned. Lin Zhan opened his eyes wide in disbelief. He thought that his brother had the ability to fight against the Beast Overlord. However, it was completely not the case. This was simply trampling and killing. It was a complete disdain. Those who didn't know would think that the Beast Overlord that was killed was just an ordinary beast. However, the Beast Overlord that had surpassed the legend rank and could destroy the entire Earth. Just one slash and the Beast Overlord was killed. Did I see wrongly? Zhou Jingyi mumbled. His body trembled. He wasn't nervous. He was excited. He wasn't afraid. He was deeply shocked. Lin Feng's strength was terrifying. It wasn't that he was shocked. It was that his heart stopped beating. Suffocating strength. It was truly the strength of a single person. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe that a human's strength could reach such a level. Zhou Jingyi and the other two looked in front of them in shock. Lin Feng slaughtered the monsters that had massacred the European Union as if he were killing chickens. He was like a giant who was stepping on ants. In less than half an hour, the battle had ended. Smoke filled the air, but there was no blood. Send someone to get it, Marshal. Lin Feng held Tutenmeng's scepter, Heka, and studied it curiously. He walked towards the Marshal of Justice and said, "This Sphinx is a low-level beast lord. I believe that its fur and bones will be of great use." "Oh, okay." Zhou Jingyi nodded. Lin Feng smiled. Weapons and battlesuits. They could all be made from the raw materials of these monsters, such as the humans of the Dark Demon world. Although the sea monster horde had caused a lot of damage to ancient Huaxia, it had also left behind a lot of precious resources. The fur of an Annihilation-class monster could be used to make an SS-class elemental armor. In terms of the level of holy treasures, it was an ordinary holy treasure. If the Beast King's fur could be successfully crafted, then its defense should be at the level of a middle-tier holy treasure. This was already pretty good. You won? Lin Zhan suddenly asked. Lin Feng was slightly taken aback. Suddenly, he saw his big brother laughing involuntarily. Lin Feng also smiled. We won, brother. You monster. Li Jixing smiled bitterly. It was a false alarm. The death of Tutanmeng and the Sphinx had come to a perfect end. But the massacre caused by the monsters was devastating, especially in the Eurasian continent. The 4 great ancient countries had suffered a calamity of extinction. Ancient Babylon was the worst affected. In ancient India, less than 1% of the Indians were left after the war. Fortunately, the Elemental Commerce Alliance retreated quickly and only lost some money. The European Union was the same as ancient Babylon. They suffered terrible losses. Ancient Greece suffered 2 disasters in a row. They were considered unlucky. In addition, country was ravaged by the Dark Moon Viper. The 7 ancient countries suffered a second great change in the 103rd year of the War Martial Era. The only countries that had preserved their strength were ancient Huaxia and ancient Egypt. And this was only temporary, because ancient Huaxia was ready to attack. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Fighter jets streaked across the sky. The Huaxia army led by Lin Zhan and Zhou Jingyi did not stop at all. They went straight for ancient Egypt. If the enemy was not kind, they would not be righteous. Whether it was Lin Feng or Zhou Jingyi, they were not people who were willing to be at a disadvantage. If the enemy advanced 1 foot, they would advance 10 feet. Above the Atlantic Ocean, Lin Feng stood on his flying sword and held the 9 Serenity Thunderblade in his hand. He did not move with the Huaxia army. Ancient Egypt was ranked last among the 7 ancient countries. Now that the pharaoh King Tutankhamun was dead, they lost their only support. Even if Lin Zhan did not attack, it would be easy to take down ancient Egypt. Let's go to Africa first, then take over ancient Babylon. Together with the Elemental Commerce Alliance and ancient India, China will be able to control the 4 great sacred sites and rule Asia and Africa. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. It's a pity that China needs country's technology to build more spaceship. If not, we can take over America too. A tripartite confrontation. Lin Feng knew very well that Earth would have such a situation in the next 3 years. The biggest giant was ancient Huaxia. In these 3 years, ancient Huaxia's position would be unshakable. 3 years later, at that time, the great extinction would come. No one would be able to survive. The situation was not important anymore. I still have 6 days. This time, I might have to leave for 3 years, or maybe. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His battle intent was clear. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade triggered lightning. Lin Feng instantly entered the Atlantic Ocean. A beast tide would happen once, twice, thrice, then there would be a 4th, 5th, and so on. Especially since the monsters had stronger senses than humans. Once they felt that a mass extinction was coming, these sea monsters would probably go crazy. It was like a time bomb that exploded with a bang. Instead of being helpless and passively defending again, it would be better. This time, he would eliminate this hidden danger. Boom! The holy water chi flowed out. Lin Feng could clearly feel everything in the ocean. He could not use 100% of his strength in the water, but he did not need to use 100% either. Dealing with monsters that were only at the annihilation level was just a practice for him now. Every dog had its day. In the 3 beast tides, countless humans had died. They were unlucky enough. This time, it was finally the monsters' turn. There was no need to crush them with numbers. Lin Feng killed his way into the 4 oceans alone, picking out the tough ones. Sea King and Annihilation level monsters were not difficult to find. 90% of them were in the deepest part of the sea. With Lin Feng's superior senses, the 4 oceans were suddenly filled with whales. There were endless monsters to kill. After all, it was Lin Feng's power alone, and his time was limited. After killing for 3 days and 3 nights, Lin Feng was also exhausted. When he was done, he called it a day. In this battle, although the number of monsters killed was less than 1% of the 4 oceans, more than 30% of the Sea King and Annihilation level monsters were killed. Most importantly, deterrence. Monsters already had elementary intelligence. They also knew fear. They even had their own unique way of communicating. Although it was only 3 days of killing, it was enough to make the sea monsters remember for the rest of their lives. Chapter 374. Elemental City at Home. Lin Feng, his brother Lin Zhan, his sister Yer and his mother Lin Wanqing had a family reunion. There were only 3 days left of the 7-day break. Lin Feng didn't plan to cultivate. It wasn't that cultivating on Earth wasn't efficient, but he wanted to use this opportunity to accompany his family. Not only was he a part of ancient Huaxia, but he was also his mother's son and his sister's second brother. Home was a harbor. It was where one's spirit and soul were placed. Brother, you don't know how much the students in the college admire you. Yer smiled like a flower. She was very happy. Not only that. Lin Zhan smiled. Not long ago, when I went to the floating element island, Offeng's videos were playing everywhere. Because of Offeng, the number of martial artists in the Elemental Commerce Alliance who learn the sword has increased by more than 10 times. It has already surpassed the sword and become the most popular weapon. That's not good. Lin Feng was a little worried. He was good at using the sword, but it didn't mean that others were good at using the sword too. Especially the changes in weapons, it had a huge impact on martial artists. Don't worry. Lin Zhan smiled. Actually, everyone liked to use the sword in the past, but most of them were just following the trend. Everyone has the mentality of following the crowd. Now, you are the most powerful person in the world. Your words and actions have a huge impact. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. I hope it's not a bad thing. It doesn't matter if you use the sword or the sword. The key is the heart, Jiruhua said gently as she carried the piping hot dishes. The key is the heart. Lin Feng thought about this sentence carefully. Mother, you are right. Lin Zhan laughed. Of course. Mother's realm is much higher than ours. Let's eat, Jiruhua said. You 3 mischievous brats have already grown up. It's impossible for my realm not to be high. Everyone instantly laughed. The whole family was laughing and joking, living in harmony. After the meal. Brother, are you really leaving in 3 days? Yer asked reluctantly. Lin Feng nodded. Yes, I have to leave. Even without Zhue's test, he planned to go to Nemo Planet. After all, there were many things waiting for him to do. Lin Feng had seen many experts, witnessed the boundless vastness of the universe, and witnessed the countless civilizations of the world. He was no longer willing to be left out. In his body flowed a competitive blood, and he had the heart of a powerhouse to challenge others. Brother, Yer will miss you a lot. Yer tightly held onto Lin Feng's arm and pouted. Then cultivate well. Lin Feng patted Yer's head. Your aptitude isn't bad and you also have the perfect gene. You can cultivate both the ancient martial arts and the elemental heart. With the Merchant Alliance's full nurturing, I hope that by the time I return, your mind expanse has already broken through 40%. I promise you, brother. Yer suddenly pursed her cherry lips and raised her head. But you have to promise me. You must come back, brother. I promise you. Elemental City, Inner City. Long time no see, everyone. Lin Feng smiled. Yes, long time no see. Haha, Leader Lin Shang, you must be busy. It's fine. All the Merchant Alliance leaders and lords were gathered together. Suku Yifan, Han Fei and other old friends. There were also a few new faces, such as Huang Tian, the super genius who was ranked first in the floating elemental island. He was now the leader of the Merchant Alliance. As for the Merchant Alliance leaders, there were more. There were 7 or 8 of them. After all, the Elemental Merchant Alliance was now a big business. They had footprints all over the world. They were already the #1 financial group. There's nothing for you to worry about, Leader Lin Shang. The Merchant Alliance is now very popular and unstoppable. Su Ku smiled. The fall of the 6 great ancient nations caused the local economy to collapse and the local financial groups to break up. This is a good opportunity for us. Xia Rufeng looked at Lin Feng. It was like a father-in-law looking at his son-in-law. The more he looked, the happier he was. Thanks to you, Ofeng, the Elemental Merchant Alliance has risen again. It's more than 10 times stronger than when it was at its peak. You have monopolized it. How can it not be strong? Jiang Wufeng interrupted. Everyone laughed heartily. Lin Feng also smiled. There were many things waiting to be done in other regions. It was a great opportunity for the Elemental Merchant Alliance to develop. Everyone present was a sly old fox. How could they miss such a good opportunity? But to him, money and power were no longer important. Huang Tian, Lin Feng called. Yes, Leader Lin Shang. Huang Tian stood up and straightened his body. His tense face was a little nervous. I forgot to congratulate you, leader of the prosperous Merchant Alliance, Lin Feng said with a smile. Huang Tian shook his head like a rattledrum and bowed respectfully. It's all thanks to Leader Lin Shang's nurturing that I have today. I'm just proposing a plan. Lin Feng didn't take credit. He did ask the Merchant Alliance to focus on nurturing top talents at all costs. However, Han Fei and Huang Tian were able to break through in such a short time. It wasn't just because of a huge amount of resources. It was mainly because they were outstanding enough. For example, Han Fei had activated his talent soul. Now, his spirit of earth was at the 5th stage. His strength had surpassed Yi Fan. Here's a gift for you. Lin Feng's hand flashed, and a shiny black fruit was thrown out. Huang Tian caught it and was stunned. Saint fruit? Yi Fan exclaimed. Damn, why don't I have one? Han Fei shouted. Lin Feng smiled. Then 2 beams of black light flew toward Yi Fan and Han Fei. They were also 2 dark-type saint fruit. Sea King level. It's just right to eat a saint fruit. Lin Feng looked at the 3. You can try and see how sensitive you are to the dark Saint Qi and how talented you are. If you want to cultivate the dark sect, you can get the first level of dark Saint Qi after eating a dozen or so. Yi Fan, Han Fei, and Huang Tian were shocked. It was that simple? The legendary Saint Qi could be obtained by eating a dozen or so saint fruit. The others also gasped and sighed. A light flickered in Su Ke's eyes as he asked, Alliance Master Lin Shang, how many of these dark attributed holy fruits do you have? The moment he asked that question, everyone came back to their senses and focused on Lin Shang. Not many. Lin Feng smiled. Everyone swallowed their saliva, especially Yi Fan and the other 2. They were incomparably nervous. Less than 1,000. About 400 or 500. Lin Feng's voice was not loud. But it was like a giant rock pressing down on everyone's heart. They even stopped breathing. Their faces were red, and their eyes were shining. Did they hear it wrong? 400 or 500. Yi Fan murmured. Oh my God. Han Fei touched his forehead. Huang Tian held the dark-type saint fruit in his hand. He was so excited that he could not speak. Lin Feng smiled faintly. In fact, in the dark demon world, the dark-type saint fruit was very cheap. It was as cheap as cabbage. It was mostly used to replenish the dark Saint Qi. As for the dark Saint Qi, the dark demon humans did not need it at all. The cosmic energy there was too powerful. But on Earth, the value was completely different. mainly because the surrounding tribes did not have that many dark-type saint fruit. They could only get so little after all the loot. If they could go to the underground city, they could even get 5 or 50,000, let alone 4 or 500. I will put the dark-type saint fruit in the Alliance's treasury. As long as you reach the Sea King level, you can get it with an application. Lin Feng looked at everyone. In an instant, the eyes of the newly promoted young Merchant Alliance leaders burned with passion. Su Ku and the others were amazed. Every time they saw Lin Feng, they would be shocked. Actually, I called everyone here today to catch up with the old times. Secondly, I have some things to tell you because I will be away for a while. Lin Feng said honestly. He did not hide anything from everyone. Lin Feng looked around and smiled. Thirdly, I have something to announce. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Chapter 375. War Martial Era, Year 103, July 18th. It was a very ordinary day. The 6th day after Lin Feng came out of the dark demon world, it caused a sensation in the entire ancient Huaxia. On this day, countless experts from Huaxia rushed over from all over. Even Sharjah and Leon, who were far away in ancient Greece, traveled a long way to come. Because today was the day of the top 10 experts in the world. On the day of Lin Feng's engagement, the entire country celebrated. The Elemental Commerce Alliance not only held a banquet in Elemental City, but also in all the regions of ancient Huaxia. Wherever the Elemental Commerce Alliance was located, they would hold a banquet. In the sky of the major cities, Lin Feng's brave figure was shown on the fluorescent screen. Outside Sunset City, he fought against India and Babylon all by himself. On the border, he defeated the nuclear bomb commander, killed the Boxing King, and defeated M Country's invasion army. In the 2 beast tides, Lin Feng led them alone. 1 man and 1 saber. He killed the high-level beast Dark Moon Viper that destroyed M Country. And in the last battle, Pharaoh Tutenmeng, the king of beasts, and the Sphinx, the king of beasts. Both man and beast were cut down by Lin Feng's saber and turned into ashes. This saber cut through the entire screen and the latest page of Earth. Today, this hero of ancient Huaxia was going to be engaged. His wife was very beautiful. She had a beautiful face that could captivate even the birds and beasts, but she also had a kind and tolerant heart. Xia Ling, Afeng, I'm handing my daughter over to you. You must treat her well, do you hear me? Xia Rufeng said seriously. Ling lowered her head and was extremely shy. Don't worry, father-in-law. Lin Feng held Ling Er's hand tightly, his gaze firm. You're still calling me father-in-law? Xia Rufeng glared. Lin Feng smiled and said, Dad. He had never called him that before, but Lin Feng didn't feel any strangeness. The leader of the Xia Merchant Alliance had always watched him grow up. He had helped him from the floating elemental island to the Elemental Commerce Alliance. He had always silently supported him from behind. The feelings between them were dripping in his heart. Heh! Xia Rufeng smiled proudly. Am I not the king of the Elemental Business Alliance now? In your dreams. Xia Ling chuckled. This daughter of yours. Xia Rufeng said helplessly, she hasn't married yet. You're always on the wrong side. Suddenly, Xia Rufeng thought of something and stared at Lin Feng. Son-in-law, why don't you and Ling just get married? Why do you have to go through so much trouble and get engaged first? Lin Feng held Ling Er's hand and smiled at her. The warmth and tenderness were unspoken. It's mainly because Ling is still young, Lin Feng explained with a smile. 17 is a bit too early. Moreover, Ling and I have only known each other for a little more than a year. Actually, we aren't that anxious. However, I was afraid that Ling would have a change of heart, so I had to think of a way to tie her to my side as soon as possible. Ling won't, big brother Lin. Xia Ling's pretty face paled slightly as she hurriedly said. Xia Rufeng rolled his eyes. Silly girl, he's joking with you. Dad. Xia Ling pouted. In an instant, cheerful laughter rang out. Soon, Xia Ling followed her father. She went to prepare her clothes and appearance. Looking at Xia Ling's departing figure, Lin Feng's eyes flickered slightly. He clenched his fist. In fact, apart from the 2 points just now, there was one point that he didn't mention. This trip to Nemo Planet was full of danger. Only with worries and expectations in one's heart would one have a stronger fighting spirit and confidence. He had to come back alive. Not only for his family, but also for Ling. He had to marry Ling for real. The engagement ceremony was very solemn. It was very sacred. To Lin Feng, this was also a promise. It was a contract of love. He had to be responsible for Ling and take care of her for the rest of her life. There wasn't much difference between this and marriage. This was what he wanted to tell Ling and it was the most practical way to express it. I am willing. Lin Feng's voice was sonorous and righteous. It was full of emotions, and their hearts were connected. Their eyes met, full of tenderness and sweetness. Thunderous applause rang out below the stage. Familiar faces appeared one after another. Zhou Jingyi, Lan Feiping, Tu Hu, Bai Jie, Ziyushu Yumeng, Xia Shan, Lan Yin, Yang Li, Tao Jing. The teachers and students of Battle College were all invited. There was also the captain, Shi, who had woken up. Photon, who still had her hair combed back. Her arm had completely recovered. Ice Rose, who was carrying an ice bow on her back. The Ice Lion adventure team was gathered together. Qin Qiyun, Li Wangbai, and the other powerful warriors of District 3 of the floating elemental island. Old Wine Pot and Guo Li from Sunset Dojo. Lei Gang, who had led Lin Feng into the Elemental Commerce Alliance, and was now the alliance leader of the Thunder Merchant Alliance. As for the Elemental Commerce Alliance, everyone was present. What a joke! This was Alliance leader Lin Shang's engagement ceremony. Who dared to not come? Jiruhua, Lin Zhan, and Yuer sat in the host's seat and smiled warmly. Only Li Jixing stood alone in the corner of the crowd. He looked at Lin Feng with happiness, envy, and a hint of challenge. Suddenly Li Jixing smiled. A glint flashed across his eyes. I was born in the face of calamity and die in the face of calamity. An easy life is not suitable for me. Even someone as powerful as Brother Lin is constantly whipping himself to improve himself. What right do I have to be lazy? Sailing against the current, if I don't advance, I will fall behind. If I stay on Earth or Mars, I am destined to be mediocre. Li Jixing disappeared like the wind. What joy is there in life? What fear is there in death? I am like the wind. I should be like the wind, searching for freedom. I should travel everywhere, wash myself clean, and train myself. At this moment, Li Jixing was enlightened. The former Gemini star of Huaxia was now a powerful warrior with a title. In terms of aptitude, Li Jixing was definitely the best among the best. Lin Zhan wasn't exaggerating at all. In fact, he had underestimated Li Jixing. He was a true genius. Compared to Li Jixing, Zi Kuei, who was also a Gemini star of Huaxia, was much weaker. However, the two of them had different personalities. Although Zi Kuei was evil, he had a firm goal and was extremely ruthless. He was ruthless to others and even more ruthless to himself. In order to succeed, he was even willing to give up everything. He dared to cultivate the Sunflower Manual. One had to know, his identity was the young master of Dragon Murder Island. His status was extremely respected. In terms of personality, persistence, and determination towards goals, Li Jixing was not as good as Zi Kuei. He was like the wind. He had a carefree personality and did things as he pleased. He didn't pursue strength too much. He was born to face a calamity but went with the flow. He was a proud son of the heavens. He had everything from the moment he was born. Family background, status, aptitude, strength. He was inferior to Zi Kuei in all aspects. He should have become the most dazzling new star in ancient Huaxia. Until Lin Feng appeared. Li Jixing's world started to shake. This was the first time he felt danger. He felt competition and pressure. Hence, he started to be serious and worked hard to cultivate. He didn't have a fortuitous encounter like Lin Feng. However, he was able to go from a high-level Sea King to a powerful warrior with a title in a short time. This showed how terrifying his aptitude was. Moreover, he was exactly the same age as Lin Feng. He was only 19 years old. Chapter 376. The grand engagement ceremony had come to an end. The entire ancient Huaxia offered their sincere blessings to the newlywed. On this day, ancient Huaxia was immersed in deep celebration and joy. It was the same for Lin Feng. From now on, he had another burden on his shoulders. He had another home. This was the burden of happiness. He spent an unforgettable night with Ling Er. Their hearts were tightly connected. The next morning, Lin Feng left. There was only one day left. He still had 2 places to go. Qinling Mountains. For Lin Feng, this was a place he would never forget. From the ruins, he walked step by step into the depths of Qinling Mountains. Hua Mountain, Taibai Mountain, Zhongnan Mountain. Here, he went from an unknown warrior to a hero of ancient Huaxia. The most unforgettable of them all was the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, the Sacred Crystal Array, and Senior Xiang Yu in the Sacred Crystal Array. He taught him a super heaven-tier sword technique, obtained the true dragon saint power, and the power of an overlord. In the end, he even sent him out of the Sacred Crystal Array. It could be said that without Senior Xiang Yu, he would not be where he was now. Lin Feng returned to the Sacred Crystal Array. The endless sea of magma, hell, and the Sacred Crystal Array formed a whole. The powerful energy deterred him, and his body felt heavy. In the center was a strange 8 trigrams, layers of magnetic aurora light condensed into circles. In the center of the magnetic aurora light was a piece of bright sacred crystal. It was crystal clear, charming, and incomparably deep. Shua, looking at the sparkling and translucent saint crystal, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The golden true dragon roared. But the attraction of the sacred crystal disappeared in an instant. With the 3rd level of the true dragon saint power, Lin Feng's talent, soul, and willpower were no longer the same as before. Senior Xiang Yu? Lin Feng called out. The sacred crystal array. There was silence. There was no response. Senior Xiang Yu. Lin Feng called out in a deep voice. There was still no response. Lin Feng's heart. It sank to the bottom. Although he had already prepared himself for the worst before coming here, he still saw it with his own eyes. He couldn't hide the disappointment and guilt in his heart. That day, Senior Xiang Yu had disappeared into the Saint Crystal to send him off. At that time, he did not understand Senior Xiang Yu's strength. But now, he was fully aware of it. His physical body had been destroyed, leaving behind only a wisp of wandering soul, trapped by the Saint Crystal Array. Senior Xiang Yu's soul power was at least at the 8th stage, which was why he could barely break the Saint Crystal Array. Just like how he was now. It wouldn't be difficult to leave the Saint Crystal Array if he went all out, but it was far from being able to truly destroy it. However, the power of the soul was different from physical strength. His body would, at most, be exhausted. However, when the power of his soul was exhausted, he would either faint or fall into a deep sleep. Don't come again. Lin Feng recalled the scene from that day. When Senior Xiang Yu had taught him the last 3 moves of the Purple Thunder Saber art, Senior Xiang Yu had completely unleashed his soul energy. His ferocious face and dim aura were like a lamp that had run out of oil. It was deeply imprinted in his heart. With Senior Xiang Yu's strength, if he was safe and sound, he would have already come out to scold him. Why did she come back? I came back to see you, Senior. Lin Feng knelt on one knee in front of the Saint Crystal. It was all thanks to Senior's meticulous teaching of the saber art that I have today's Lin Feng. Lin Feng had never forgotten Xiang Yu's gratitude. Although they weren't master and disciple in name, they were master and disciple in reality. Apart from his elder brother, Senior Xiang Yu was his first true teacher. It was time to make up for the ceremony. Lin Feng stood up. That day, Senior Xiang Yu didn't allow him to do so. However, he still had to do what needed to be done. Senior Xiang Yu won't die so easily. I believe he has only exhausted his soul energy. He will temporarily rest in the Saint Crystal. Lin Feng looked at the connected Saint Crystal array. He knew that in order to break the Saint Crystal array, his strength had to reach the level of a perfect human, and his mind expanse had to exceed 100%. Senior, please wait for 2 more years. Junior will definitely return after 2 years. Lin Feng's eyes shone with determination. Although he had given himself a time limit of 3 years, in reality, he didn't have 3 years. He only had 2 years and 7 months. The 7th Great Extinction wasn't sensed by Senior Xiang Yu. The one who truly knew was Senior Brother Xian Yuan. It was him. The 7th Great Extinction would occur in the middle of February, year 106 of the War Martial Era. Boom! Lin Feng's saber flashed with netherworld flash. After tearing open a gap in the Saint Crystal array, Lin Feng instantly left. Elemental City, Absolute Zero Ice Cavern. The little witch doctor in the ice coffin was like an ice beauty. She had transformed into an ice sculpture, and her bodily functions were temporarily frozen. Lin Feng stared at the little witch doctor. Bits and pieces of their time together appeared in his mind. She was a kind girl with a demonic temperament. She was a true healer. He owed her too much. I thought I would be able to find a way to treat you after finding the Scythe evil demon. Who knew? Fate makes fools of people. Lin Feng sighed. Before he could encounter the Scythe evil demon, he had already died in the pyramid of sacred remains. The one who tied the bell should untie it. The bloodline of the little witch doctor had already dried up. The demon bloodline was like a magnet, forming a core and condensing all energy outside the core. Now that the core was lost, her bodily functions naturally collapsed. There will be a way. On Nemo's star, there are many demons, and many are stronger than the Demon Lord. I will definitely find a way to cure you. Definitely. Lin Feng pursed his lips tightly. For the sake of the little witch doctor, even if Nemo's star was dangerous, he had to make a trip. Elemental City, Central City. Elemental City's top technology, especially the man-made pyramid, was a unique existence in the world. Compared to the Dark Demon world and Nemo's star, Earth's cosmic energy level was indeed too low. However, Earth's technological civilization was much stronger than the two. Genetic Technology Building. In the oval-shaped technological fortress, the silver-white tempered glass reflected the light from the sky. At this time, Lin Feng was preparing for the final sprint. Titanium Grade Body, Level 5. With a twisted face, Lin Feng's body was under an extremely heavy burden. With the titanium heart as the source, like the demon bloodline, it formed an elemental core that could unleash the strongest power of the elemental martial arts. Every level of the titanium grade body was a qualitative leap. The first titanium grade body was 1.5 times stronger. The second titanium grade body was 2 times stronger. The third titanium grade body was 3 times stronger. The fourth titanium grade body was 5 times stronger. The fifth titanium grade body. This was a qualitative leap. His body strength would be 10 times stronger than before. He was enduring inhuman pain. In the extreme titanium space, endless titanium poured into his body. Even if Lin Feng's current physical fitness was comparable to that of the Scythe Demon Lord, it was still unbearable. Every cell was changing, his skin was completely cracked, and the titanium energy flowed wildly throughout his body. Lin Feng gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He clearly knew that with his current physical fitness and strength, he could definitely withstand the side effects of the fifth titanium grade body. The rest was just a test of willpower. He would definitely persevere. Chapter 377. Nemo Planet was filled with danger. Lin Feng knew that his strength was negligible on Nemo Planet. The more he improved, the more likely he would be able to survive. The fifth level of the titanium grade body could only be completed on Earth in the extreme titanium elemental space. It was very important. The fifth level of the titanium grade body was an improvement from the inside out. As his strength and physical fitness increased, the increase in the fifth level of the titanium grade body would be greater. Especially when he had to stay on Nemo planet for 2 years and 7 months. During this time, his strength would more than double. If his talent was not enough, he had to work harder than others. Lin Feng had always done this. Elemental City's research room. The researchers stared nervously at the screen as the superbrain analyzed Lin Feng's data and physical condition. They needed to control the titanium content in the extreme titanium space and protect Alliance leader Lin Shang's safety. If something happened, they would not be able to bear the consequences. It's been 6 hours. This is Alliance leader Lin Shang's 102nd attempt. It's too scary. Alliance leader Lin Shang's willpower is like a diamond. The researchers admired him. Such an expert was still working tirelessly and risking his life until now. Any martial artist would collapse after trying 102 times. Especially every time he used the fifth level of the titanium grade body, it would put a huge burden on his body and mind. The heavy pressure accumulated, enough to crush a person. However, Lin Feng did not give up. The 155th attempt. The 130th attempt. The 170th attempt. Lin Feng kept trying. His body could not bear the burden, but his eyes did not waver. They were as firm as iron. No, Alliance leader Lin Shang will collapse if this continues. The researchers monitoring Lin Feng's condition were worried. The red light on the screen indicated that Lin Feng could not bear it. He was below the critical line. Wait a little longer. The researchers stared at the screen. But, he will succeed. The researcher's voice was firm. The human body has endless potential. It can unleash unimaginable power. The key to success or failure is one's willpower. Alliance leader Lin Shang's willpower has not weakened. Moreover, with every attempt, he is improving. The more you fight, the braver you become. The more he fought, the braver he became. Bang! In the depths of his heart, a burst of power exploded. Lin Feng was half naked and clenched his fists. For the first time, a smile appeared on his face. His body flickered with titanium light, layer by layer. Titanium-grade elements were like high-tech crystals, forming dense lines on the outside of the skin. I've finally succeeded. Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Every time he used it, not only did he grasp the essence of the titanium-grade 5th tier, but he also allowed his skin and cells to slowly adapt. The first 4 tiers of the titanium grade were one level, while the 5th tier was a whole new level. There was an additional layer of silver light and an additional layer of illusory crystal armor. From the inside out, the titanium element blended perfectly with the body. In the research lab, everyone was in jubilation. It was as if they were the ones who had succeeded. Everyone looked as if they had been injected with chicken blood and were incomparably excited. Alliance leader Lin Shang is too amazing. That's right. The superbrain has simulated the titanium-grade body countless times. However, Alliance leader Lin Shang is the first to successfully execute it. Let's not talk about the 5th tier. Before Alliance leader Lin Shang, have you ever seen the 3rd tier of the titanium grade? It seems so. So the advanced titanium grade body is like this. So powerful. It definitely surpasses all the elemental martial arts on Earth. Isn't this nonsense? With Alliance leader Lin Shang's strength, his body is 10 times stronger than before. His physical fitness increased by 10 times. Damn, this is too terrifying. Is he still human? The grade of the elemental heart has to be reformulated. The titanium heart is definitely S grade. No, it's a super S grade elemental heart. It took a total of 9 hours. Lin Feng stepped out of the genetic technology building. Looking at the beautiful Linger in front of him, he felt warmth in his heart. Have you been waiting for a long time? Lin Feng held Linger's small hand. Linger shook her head and smiled sweetly. I just arrived. Is that so? Lin Feng smiled. Without saying anything, he gently pulled Linger into his arms. Let's go. Linger obediently replied. Mom is waiting for us. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Home was very warm, but he still had to walk the path that he had to walk. Lin Feng clearly understood in his heart that, not to mention the matter of the little magic doctor, just what he saw in the dark demon world was already a bloody lesson. If one's strength was not enough, they would only be bullied by others. He didn't want the humans on Earth to be like the dark demon humans in the future. The universe was too big. There were countless planetary civilizations like Earth. Even a stellar civilization like the dark demon world had hundreds of millions of them. Fate couldn't be avoided. Facing danger, what one had to do was not to avoid it, but to face it head-on. Go, brother. Lin Zhan patted Lin Feng's shoulder. I'll take care of the family. Don't worry. Thank you, brother. Lin Feng thanked him. There's no need to say this between brothers. Lin Zhan said frankly. These few years, thanks to you taking care of the family, it's my turn to do my duty as an elder brother. Besides, I haven't broken through to the legend rank yet. I haven't even crossed the threshold of Earth. I don't have strong life-saving abilities like you and Shaoli. I'll just be sending myself to death if I go out. Lin Feng smiled. He could understand his elder brother's heart. There was no need to say so much between brothers. In their hearts, ancient Babylon, Tong Tian Tower, sacred remains Sky Garden. In the past, this place was the pride of ancient Babylon. It nurtured priests one after another, and those with extraordinary strength even obtained the power bestowed by the heavens. But today, ancient Babylon had been incorporated into the territory of China, including the sacred remains. Alliance Leader Lin Shang. Alliance Leader Lin Shang. The military experts guarding the gate straightened their bodies and bowed respectfully. Seeing their idol arrive with their own eyes, these military experts were pleasantly surprised. Lin Feng smiled and nodded at everyone. He walked forward and welcomed his old friend, Lan Feipeng. He was now the governor of ancient Babylon and was in charge of this area. Take care. I will. Lin Feng said goodbye to Lan Feipeng. Lin Feng walked towards the distant sky-split tower and the passageway to the sacred remains Sky Garden. Suddenly, his eyes lit up in surprise. In front of him was a cynical smile. The handsome face was like a breeze. Wasn't it Li Jixing? Brother Lin, Li Jixing greeted. Brother Li, this is? Lin Feng instantly understood. You don't mind accompanying me, right? Li Jixing smiled. Lin Feng smiled. Even if I said I mind, you'll still go in alone. Li Jixing shrugged and didn't comment. Brother Li, have you thought it through? Lin Feng asked. Li Jixing said, I'm the only one who has enough to eat, but the whole family isn't hungry. Instead of living a life of mediocrity on Earth, it's better to go out and explore and experience the vastness of the world. Their eyes met and the two laughed heartily. Brother Li, please. Let's go together. The two stepped into the Tong Tian Tower. To be continued. Chapter 378. Sky Split Tower. The passageway to the Sky Garden was very mysterious. It stood tall, like a divine tower. It contained a demonic power that caused people to tremble. Sky Split Tower was the symbol of Babylon. It was an absolute holy land. Every priest that came out of the Holy Land had awakened an innate spirit. Brother Lin, you seem to be very familiar with Sky Split Tower? Following Lin Feng through the first floor, Li Jixing asked curiously. I know a little. Lin Feng's gaze swept across Sky Split Tower. Following the spiral passageway, he went up. Sky Split Tower has a total of 8 floors. Every 2 floors is a span. The first 2 floors are the awakening floor. Simply put, it is the place to awaken an innate spirit. You can awaken it as soon as you enter? Li Jixing was somewhat incredulous. Of course not. Lin Feng raised his head. He could already see the third floor. Staying here will cause an illusion to appear. It is used to awaken an innate spirit. If you are not careful, you will fall into the illusion and be unable to extricate yourself. Awakening an innate spirit not only requires luck, but also talent. Li Jixing nodded. There weren't many priests in Babylon. If every Babylonian warrior that entered Skysplit Tower could awaken an innate spirit, that would be too terrifying. The third and fourth floors are the ascension floors. Lin Feng stepped onto the third step and continued up. The tempering of an innate spirit has many variables. Unlike the exhaustion of one's physical strength, the innate spirit is too weak. Skysplit Tower is a passageway to the divine remains. The mortality rate is over 99%. To quickly increase one's strength, one naturally has to pay a price. Li Jixing wasn't surprised. The price and the reward were often proportional. Lin Feng looked at Li Jixing. Brother Li, is your innate spirit at the 5th stage? Li Jixing nodded. Then Brother Li, you have to be careful. Lin Feng said seriously. The awakening floor is targeted at warriors who have yet to awaken an innate spirit. The ascension floor is targeted at warriors who have yet to reach the 1st to 3rd stages. The 5th and 6th floors are the ascension floors, targeted at warriors who have reached the 4th stage of the innate spirit. As for Brother Li, you will have to face the final floor of Skysplit Tower. If you can pass, the innate talent spirit will transform and reach the 6th stage, and will be bestowed with a saint energy seed. Li Jixing's eyes widened. Sacred power seed? Lin Feng lightly nodded. This is the only precious part of the sacred remains sky garden. Li Jixing fell into deep thought. Lin Feng said slowly, the saint energy is different from the innate soul. It was like the holy qi to the soul of the earth, but it was difficult to obtain the holy qi. It was far more powerful than holy qi. Since Brother Li is going through the final level alone, you can only obtain the saint energy seed. Whether or not the seed can germinate and turn into saint energy depends on Brother Li's luck. If you start from the 1st level before your innate talent soul has awakened and you can pass the final level, then I will definitely obtain one of the saint powers. Li Jixing nodded in realization. There is a legend in ancient Babylon. As long as one can ascend to the top of the Tower of Babel, one will be able to obtain the mysterious power. So, that's how it came to be. Li Jixing instantly understood. Lin Feng nodded. The second half of the legend is about obtaining a mysterious power, gaining the recognition of the gods, and opening a divine gate. It's actually a two-way spatial transmission channel. The sickle demon came from this channel. Li Jixing's eyes lit up. The Nemo planet. Lin Feng nodded. The sky garden of the sacred remains didn't lead to the Nemo planet before. Later, the spatial coordinates were set to the Nemo planet. With a smile, Lin Feng said, among the 7 sacred remains, the sky garden is the sky garden of the 7 sacred remains. The sky garden is ranked last because it is just a spatial teleportation channel. Rather, the Tong Tian Tower is more important. The saint energy seed. Li Jixing looked up. There was a burning desire in his eyes. As they spoke, the two had already reached the top of the 6th level. Lin Feng stopped and looked at Li Jixing. The final levels test isn't simple. The death rate is extremely high. Brother Li, have you thought about it? Li Jixing smiled. Since we're already here, how can I be afraid? Brother Lin, please wait for a moment at the top of the tower. I'll be there soon. Li Jixing stepped forward without hesitation and went straight to the 7th level. He was full of confidence. Lin Feng smiled. He also went to the 7th level. Unlike Li Jixing, his innate soul was already at the 7th stage. To him, the Tower of Babel was just an ordinary tower. He entered the Nemo planet through the sacred remains sky garden. It was the simplest and most convenient way. He waited. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. He took out the reward golden book. He got on the Golden Sparrow Bridge. A faint light flashed in his eyes. He was quite expectant. The value of this golden book was comparable to a top holy treasure, and it must be something that he could use. How could Lin Feng not be curious? It was just that the 6 days on Earth had been too busy. He didn't have time to look at it carefully. He just happened to have time now. The sacred remains, the Great Wall. Zhao, has junior brother set off? Ji Xianyuan asked. Yes, Zhao said indifferently. The future of Earth is on junior brother's shoulders. Ji Xianyuan sighed softly. He couldn't hide the worry in his eyes. It's useless. Zhao's voice was calm. Even if Lin Feng completes the test and is comparable to the second generation of humans, the seventh extinction won't stop. Once Earth is destroyed, although humans won't die, it will be difficult to stop the Nemo planet. With the current pace of the Nemo planet, their civilization will be upgraded to 3.0 in less than 100 years and break the curse seal. Ji Xuanyuan's face changed drastically. No way. It's the cycle of cause and effect. Zhao said indifferently. When the time comes, the humans who fled to Mars will be doomed. The third generation of humans will be truly extinct, except for you and Lin Feng. Don't worry, I will break the Golden Sparrow Bridge and cut off the connection with Earth. What? Ji Xuanyuan's face was extremely ugly. Earth was his root, his hometown, home to countless people and bloodlines. Cultivate well, Zhao said in a deep voice. With Master's inheritance, it's only a matter of time before we surpass the Nemo planet and take back Earth. You and Lin Feng are not bad, and you are considered superior among the human race in the universe. Don't be distracted. It's normal to see through the destruction of a race. It's just a cycle. Is there no way at all? Ji Xuanyuan's eyes were extremely unwilling. There is, Zhao said. You also have 3 years. By then, Lin Feng will pass the test and become the new heir, and you will be able to break my array and return to Earth after passing the 3 tribulations and 3 lives path. With your strength, even if you can't completely stop the 7th extinction, at least, you can minimize the loss to the minimum. 3 years to pass the 3 tribulations and 3 lives path. Ji Xianyuan was speechless. Even if I have 300 years, I may not be able to pass the 3 tribulations and 3 lives path. Ji Xianyuan shook his head and murmured. Is there no other way but to watch Earth perish? Zhao. Chapter 379. Golden Book. It was as if it was wearing a layer of golden clothes, emitting a faint golden light. It can't be the Dark Element Heart Sutra. It can't be the True Dragon Saint Force Heart Sutra. Lin Feng smiled. His state of mind was actually very relaxed. If he won the bet, he would make a profit. If he didn't, he wouldn't lose much either. It's probably the Martial Arts Sutra or the Book of Profound Intent. Lin Feng carried an expectant and curious heart as he flipped open the golden book. What entered his eyes were 4 clear large words, like 4 thunderbolts, each containing different forms. Lin Feng widened his eyes, his heart skipped a beat. Thunder Dragon Cannon? Sutra? Lin Feng flipped it open. There was a clear line of words, vigorous and powerful. I am the true dragon sovereign. The 9 sutras are the foundation of the true dragon bloodline. They are not to be taught privately. Teacher. Lin Feng held his breath and read carefully. There are 5 levels to the sutra. The first level, condense the thunder dragon Saint Chi. The second level, form the cyclone. You can cultivate it. The third level, form the chi cloud. You can cultivate it. The fourth level, form the embryo star. You can cultivate it. The fifth level, form the child star. You can cultivate it. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. The introduction was clear and direct. There was no superfluous words. Obviously, this Thunder Dragon Sutra was a sutra for cultivating Saint Chi. Lin Feng read it carefully again. It turns out that Saint Chi is divided into 4 levels: cyclone, cloud, embryo star, and child star. I wonder what the dark ball in my body is. Cyclone? Cloud? Embryo star? Or the power level of other beasts? Lin Feng thought to himself. In terms of cultivation, the dark ball in his body was much stronger than the cyclone. It's really just suitable for use. Lin Feng looked at the Thunder Dragon Sutra helplessly. There was no surprise. Reality was still reality. Of the 9 sutras, there might be the Dark Dragon Sutra or the Light Dragon Sutra. If not, the Lightning Scripture will do. Lin Feng felt helpless. Although his lightning aptitude wasn't bad, it paled in comparison to his darkness aptitude and light aptitude. It was a world of difference. At the same level, the difference in cultivation speed was a full 20 times. This was just the beginning. For example, the difference between the physiques of 2 warriors would only increase as their strength increased. At that time, let alone 20 times. It was probably more than 200 times. Of course, he could cultivate, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to achieve anything high or low. Cultivating one type of holy chi was enough. For example, it was better to focus on one type of bladesmanship than to comprehend it by analogy. Dark Holy Chi. Do I have to give up the 5th level of Dark Holy Chi and cultivate the 2nd level of Blue Lightning Holy Chi? Lin Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. Maybe it's not the Blue Lightning Holy Chi, but the Thunder Dragon Holy Chi from scratch. Lin Feng continued to flip to the back. He wasn't in a hurry to make a decision. After all, this was his first time coming into contact with his teacher. Sacred relics. The Great Wall. Hey, which position did Junior Brother choose for the reward of the Golden Sparrow Bridge? Ji Xianyuan asked curiously. The middle, He replied. Ji Xianyuan smiled. It suits Junior Brother's character. He's meticulous and bold. Let me guess. On the far left, you put a dark-type holy treasure, right? He was silent. After a while, he said, How did you guess? Ji Xianyuan laughed heartily. You and I. We've known each other for more than 4,700 years. He said faintly, It's indeed a long time for you. Can you guess what I put in the middle? Well, Ji Xianyuan pondered. A wind-type holy treasure. No. A fire-type holy treasure. No. I know, a top-level holy fruit. Neither. He seemed to be laughing. I put the Thunder Dragon Sutra. Ji Xianyuan was stunned. In terms of applicability, it can indeed be placed in the middle. Ji Xianyuan nodded. But the value of the Thunder Dragon Sutra should be comparable to a perfect holy treasure. Ji Xianyuan smiled. Hey, you really think highly of Junior Brother. He said indifferently, What do you think of the value of the first part of the Thunder Dragon Sutra? A top-level holy treasure. Ji Xianyuan didn't hesitate. Then do you think Lin Feng can condense the Thunder Dragon embryo star before the end of the 3rd test? He said. Impossible. Ji Xianyuan instantly understood. So, it doesn't make a difference whether the 2nd part is given or not. If Junior Brother passes the test, he can naturally cultivate all the scriptures. If he fails, Ji Xianyuan covered his mouth. He said, Actually, he may not be able to cultivate. That's a great loss. Ji Xianyuan clicked his tongue. Teacher's Thunder Dragon Holy Chi is not only 1st grade, but with the help of the True Dragon Holy Chi, it can even exert the power of a 1st grade. He said solemnly, Lin Feng's thunder talent is very ordinary. Ji Xianyuan was slightly startled and suddenly laughed heartily. Hey, you really think highly of Junior Brother. I just don't know if he can comprehend it. I have always treated Master's disciples equally, He said indifferently. Yun said indifferently, Every one of you has your own opportunities. It's just that you miss them. Who else can you blame? Including you. No way? Ji Xuanyuan's expression changed. The Thunder Dragon Sutra. Lin Feng flipped through it several times from beginning to end. Although he couldn't understand the latter part, the first part was easy to understand. This was indeed a Heart Sutra. With the complete martial spirit as the foundation, it was like a picture scroll, and the holy chi in his body was the brush. To draw the image of the Thunder Dragon and condense the Thunder Dragon holy chi. It was very difficult. It was far more difficult than the 9 Dragons Sutra. Moreover, even if he succeeded in the first level, he couldn't see any benefits for the time being. Unless he planned to cultivate the Thunder Dragon holy chi. As senior brother Xianyuan said, the middle is indeed a trap. It's tasteless, but it's a pity to throw it away. Lin Feng pondered and his eyes sparkled. But hey, specially prepared the Thunder Dragon Sutra for me. Does it have a deeper meaning? If I don't cultivate it, won't I gain nothing this time? This seems to be against the rules of the Golden Sparrow Bridge. There may be some secrets in it. He pondered. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. Besides, now wasn't the time to cultivate. He was about to enter the perilous Nemo planet and wait. Whoosh! Li Jisheng's figure appeared in front of him. His handsome face was a little pale, but his eyes were shining. It was obvious that his talent soul had been refined. Looking over, Li Jisheng smiled weakly. Sorry to keep you waiting, Brother Lin. Congratulations! Lin Feng smiled and got up. Li Jisheng looked carefree. In an instant, a new force appeared spontaneously and fell from the sky. It enveloped Li Jisheng completely, as if he was the chosen one of God. In front of him, in the mythical garden, a gate to heaven slowly opened. The gate of God. Let's go, Brother Lin. Okay. Lin Feng smiled. In an instant, the two figures disappeared with the garden in the sky. Xiao Xiao needs to go back to her hometown with her wife. I can only update 3 chapters a day before 10. 3, please forgive me. Chapter 380. It felt like a long time but also like an instant. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The moment he regained consciousness, he was already awake. His perception of his surroundings was extremely clear. Although the strength of the universe's energy was chaotic and restless, it was more than 1,000 times stronger than the energy on Earth. It was the real Level 2 cosmic energy. Stellar Civilization 2. 9 is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng had expected this, so he was not surprised. Although Planet Nemo was a stellar civilization, it was the most advanced stellar civilization and was only 1 step away from Level 3. 0. In other words, the Level 2 cosmic energy here was only 1 step away from Level 3 cosmic energy. It's even stronger than the Dark Demon World, Lin Feng said. The dark light ball in his body had started to absorb the dark energy in the air. It was even stronger than when he was in the Dark Demon World. But there was a fundamental difference. The Dark Saint Chi occupied most of the cosmic energy in the Dark Demon World, but the cosmic energy here was all-encompassing. Thunder, fire, water, wind. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the sky. The atmosphere was abnormally violent with thunder and lightning. Aurora shone brightly, just like the ancient sacred realm. However, compared to the ancient divine domain, it was much better. The ancient divine domain. Lin Feng's memories were still fresh in his mind when he thought about it. The hailstones and lightning were absolutely irreconcilable with him. The wind Saint Chi is so strong, Li Jisheng exclaimed with shock in his eyes. Compared to Lin Feng's calmness, Li Jisheng felt as if he had entered the Grand View Garden. For him, who had been on Earth since he was born, everything on planet Nemo was new and had subverted his worldview. The wind was howling and small hurricanes appeared in the air from time to time. It was like a whirlpool that kept stirring. The elements there were extremely strong. More than that, the temperature here is very high. Lin Feng felt the heat in the air. The proportion of fire elements was quite high. His understanding of planet Nemo was limited to the level of power. According to Brother Xianyuan, there were more fierce battles than on Earth. Human beings, demons and monsters. The area of Nemo Planet was 1,000 times larger than Earth, and its gravity was 10 times stronger than Earth's. The gravity is too strong. I'm not used to it. Li Jiexing moved his body. Lin Feng nodded. After all, Li Jiexing was an agile melee fighter. He was known for his agility and speed. For Li Jiexing, the sudden increase in the gravitational force was like cutting off an arm, wiping out his advantage. His strength was only at the advanced titled rank, which was very ordinary here. Put it on, Brother Li. Lin Feng took out the Bloodwalker's boots and the dark crystal battle armor. Li Jiexing looked over. Their eyes met, and there was no need to say anything. Li Jiexing took the Bloodwalker boots and dark crystal armor, and his voice contained a trace of gratitude. He also felt a little guilty. Thank you. There's no need for such things between friends, Lin Feng said with a smile. He knew Li Jiexing's character. She was free and unrestrained, but she had her own pride and self-esteem. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to Nemo Planet with him. The reason why he didn't give it to him before was that he knew Li Jiexing would definitely refuse. But here, he truly saw the cruelty of Nemo Planet and felt the danger in his heart. Li Jiexing wouldn't refuse. He had several sets of dark crystal battle armor. As for the Bloodwalker boots, it was helpful to him. It was far less helpful to Li Jiexing. One was icing on the cake. The other was a timely help. Lin Feng was never stingy to his friends. The two didn't use flying swords. In the air, it was easy to be exposed as a target. It was far less flexible and easy to hide on land. In a strange and dangerous place, the first thing to do was not to improve their strength or find opportunities, but to protect their lives. Brother Li, be careful. Lin Feng's expression was slightly serious. Walking in the dark forest, Lin Feng's senses spread out clearly. With the third stage of the true dragon Holy Qi and the seventh stage of the talent soul, Lin Feng's senses were not inferior to his strength. There were many monsters in the forest and mountains. It wasn't a monster, it was a monster. If a monster broke through the current level, it would become a monster. It meant that a human's brain was more than 70% open. The demon general of the Devil Clan, such as the Dark Moon Python on Earth, was a high-level monster. Above the monster was the Monster Lord, such as the Sphinx under Tutankhamun. Above that was the Monster Beast King. It meant that a human's brain was more than 90% open, the Demon King of the Devil Clan. It was the same for the Monster Clan, the Devil Clan, and humans. It was a huge threshold. Once crossed, it would be like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. If the Monster Beast King could cross this level, it would have the ability to transform. Its intelligence would be comparable to that of the Devil Clan and humans. It would become a real monster. Brother Lin, where are we going now? Li Jiexing asked softly. Leave this place. Lin Feng moved forward cautiously. Look for traces of humans. The humans on Nemo Planet are not much different from us. There are many human tribes here. Find them and we'll make a long-term plan. On Nemo Planet, the Devil Clan and the Monster Clan are quite hostile to humans, especially the Monster Clan. Monster beasts are everywhere on Nemo Planet. They are the biggest threat. Monster beasts are the most common in the wild, followed by the Monster Lord. Lin Feng smiled. As long as we don't encounter the Monster Beast King, we won't be in danger. The Monster Beast King. Li Jiexing smiled bitterly. If they encountered such an existence, he probably wouldn't even have the chance to escape. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly brightened. In front of them, there were a few trees with red and green ripples. It wasn't unusual in this forest, but these trees were fruit trees. The red and green ripples wound around them like spirals. The trees had red and green fruit. They were glossy and translucent, like a mix of green and red apples. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng and Li Jiexing leaped onto the tree. Lin Feng casually plucked a fruit. He tasted it and showed a strange expression. It was quite sour in his mouth. The fruit wasn't fully ripe yet, but when the sweet juice entered his stomach, There was a warm flame energy and refreshing wood energy. Holy fruit! Li Jisheng's eyes lit up. He ate and plucked at the same time. He was very happy. Like a gust of wind, the red and green fruits were instantly swept clean. Li Jisheng directly swallowed them, one by one, as if he was swallowing dates. Lin Feng smiled when he saw this. Li Jisheng's change in expression was quite interesting. Swallowing so many fruits at once was very satisfying. But Lin Feng knew why Li Jisheng did this. Unlike him, Li Jisheng only had the holy qi of wind. Although it was said that he was an expert, he didn't have a choice. Now that the red and green fruits were in his stomach, Li Jisheng could at least have two more types of holy qi. Two choices: the holy qi of fire and the holy qi of wood. On Nemo planet, which was full of dangers, the more power he had, the more chances he would have to survive. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes suddenly changed. He turned his head abruptly and looked into the distance. Chapter 381. Get ready, Brother Li. Lin Feng's 9 underworld thunderblade appeared. Okay. Li Jisheng stuffed the last red and green fruit into his mouth. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. 2 auras gathered on his body. Red and green light intertwined. 2 new holy qi were formed. The Bloodwalker's boots glowed with the rhythm of the wind. The dark red mat-type demonic beasts had scales all over their bodies. They ran as fast as they could, as if their bodies were on fire. In total, there were 7 or 8 of them. The leading fire mat-type demonic beast's nose was like a gun barrel. Its hooves were like thunder. Before it arrived, a pillar of fire had already shot out from its nose. It roared loudly. Its aura was strong. Bang! The pillar of fire shot out like a cannonball. Beginner Lord of Demonic Beasts. Lin Feng could tell that the leading fire mat-type demonic beast was different from the other fire mat-type demonic beasts. He did not expect to encounter a Lord of Demonic Beasts in his first battle on the Nemo planet. This was much crueler than the Dark Demon world. The fire mat-type demonic beast's eyes were filled with hatred. Just as senior brother Xianyuan said, demons and humans hated each other. He had to end the battle quickly. The battle would definitely cause a disturbance. Especially in the forest, there were many demonic beasts. If it was a mid-level lord of demonic beasts, it might be a tough battle. However, Lin Feng was confident that he could deal with a beginner lord of demonic beasts. He activated the Overlord's combat power. Dark Holy Qi and Blue Lightning Holy Qi appeared. Netherworld power. Compared to the pure Blue Lightning Holy Qi, it was stronger. Profound meaning of darkness heavy. Lin Feng's attack was strong. The 5th level of Dark Holy Qi supported by the profound meaning crushed the fire mat-type demonic beast. Wherever the blade light went, flesh and blood splattered. Bang! It was destroyed in one move. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The profound meaning of darkness heavy is much stronger here. Lin Feng thought, is it because the energy in the second universe is higher? No, it's gravity. Lin Feng thought. His performance just now had deepened his comprehension of the profound intent to another level. Up ahead, the fire tapers attacked angrily. Lin Feng did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward. He raised his blade and the dense dark holy qi surrounded the demonic beast. The dark region was like a mountain pressing down. In a short moment, all the fire centipede demonic beasts had been killed. Li Jisheng's eyes sparkled. Seeing Lin Feng's strength once again, he was still as shocked as before. However, suddenly, Li Jisheng's expression changed greatly. There's more. Lin Feng furrowed his brows as he sensed the incoming attacks of demonic beasts from afar. They were extremely fast and there were many of them. Suddenly, Lin Feng was slightly startled. He abruptly recalled the roar of the leader of the fire mantis demonic beasts and instantly understood. In front of them, the aura of flames descended once more. The number of fire hornless beasts was several times greater than before. Amongst them, there were at least 5 beast kings. Brother Li, retreat, Lin Feng said decisively. He had no choice but to retreat, even if he could win this battle. It would definitely be a Pyrrhic victory, and the smell of blood would only attract more demonic beasts. Li Jixing understood, and the two of them retreated instantly. Behind them, the fire centipede demonic beasts chased relentlessly, especially the 5 beast kings. Their speed was even faster than the two of them. This is not the way. Lin Feng thought to himself. Sooner or later, they would be caught. During this period of time, they would only attract more demonic beasts. At that time, they would really have to go deeper and deeper. Right now, he had to make a prompt decision. Either to fight to his heart's content, or to escape to his heart's content. Sacred Scale. Lin Feng took out the flying sword, Sacred Scale. This was made from the scales of his Sacred Scale clothes. The quality was quite good. Although using a flying sword to escape was a double-edged sword, it was the best choice right now. At this moment, Lin Feng felt himself being enveloped by a gust of wind. "Let's go, brother Lin." Li Jixing's voice sounded. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Sacred Wind Qi, Blood Walker's boots. Escape. Lin Feng and Li Jixing looked at each other and smiled. "Fortunately, we escaped." Li Jixing smiled. His breath was a little weak. Even though he had condensed a cyclone, he still couldn't bear the large consumption of Sacred Wind Qi. "Our luck is not bad." Lin Feng smiled. On the way, they encountered at least a few waves of demonic beasts. However, the strongest one was the demonic beast commander. They didn't encounter the beast king. Otherwise, even if Li Jixing could escape, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. Right now, they had finally escaped the fire mantis horde. However, their safety was only temporary. As long as they didn't leave this forest, they would be in danger. "I wonder when we will meet other humans." Li Jixing's eyes were filled with anticipation. "We will definitely meet them." Lin Feng nodded. Once they left the forest, their chances would be much higher. When they first arrived at Planet Nemo, Lin Feng and Li Jixing were groping their way forward. Roads were created by people. Experience was created by trial and error. Lin Feng and Li Jixing, one was good at attacking, and the other was good at escaping. They had a tacit understanding and complemented each other. They managed to survive in the cruel forest and slowly made their way out. Whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he stepped out of the forest. He felt very comfortable. The past few days in the forest were like guerrilla warfare, fighting and escaping at the same time. Fortunately, there was no danger. They slowly groped their way forward and walked out of the forest. It was as if they had walked out of a prison. As far as the eye could see, there was no end. Mountain. Li Jixing walked to his side. Lin Feng nodded. At this moment, he was on a huge mountain. There were mountains around him, and he couldn't see the end. The huge mountain range stood on this land. It was majestic and magnificent. In comparison, the forest behind it was insignificant. Roar, roar. The roars of demonic beasts could be heard from time to time. Heaven and earth shook, declaring the sovereignty of the mountain range. The loud voice was extremely powerful. It was like the king of the mountains. Lin Feng looked at Li Jixing. The latter smiled bitterly and shook his head. In this mountain range, who knew how many monstrous beast king existed, the earth-shaking roars were enough to prove the strength of the monstrous beast king. Looks like there's still a way to go. Lin Feng smiled calmly. Just as you had said, Nemo Planet was extremely dangerous. With his current strength, it would not be easy for him to survive. If he wanted to complete the test in 3 years and reach 100% mind expanse, it would be even more difficult. From the 19th senior brother to the 31st senior brother, none of them had passed the test. However, this was the real challenge. In the forest, they had to be careful. In the mountain range, they had to be extra careful. Because this time, it was very likely to be the monstrous beast king and not the monstrous beast territory lord. To leave this mountain range through the mountains was very difficult. There was a high chance of encountering the monstrous Beast King. However, Lin Feng and Li Jixing didn't have a choice. If they left, they would die. If they didn't, they would die. They might as well give it a try. Luckily, we stayed in the forest for a few days. Lin Feng sighed. Yeah. Li Jixing raised his hand. The faint holy wind chi turned into a gentle breeze and probed ahead. The path they walked would not be wasted. After staying in the forest for a few days, the two of them had accumulated a lot of experience. If they had directly entered this mountain range that day, they would have died a long time ago. They walked carefully in the mountain range. The two of them were alert, one on the left and one on the right. They used the plants to hide their bodies. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. That's Happy National Day, everyone. I'm already on the train. Looking for a guaranteed ticket for October. Thank you, Carrot Carrot. Chapter 382. Human. Li Jixing widened his eyes. He's a human. Lin Feng looked ahead and said, but he's dead. It was a young man who was less than 20 years old. He was 1.8 meters tall and thin. From his physical strength, he could vaguely tell that the young man's strength was about the same as his own. He was wearing battle armor and battle boots, which were slightly damaged. The most special thing about the young man was that there was a blue crescent moon on his forehead. However, the blue crescent moon didn't have any luster, as if it had lost its vitality. The young man's eyes were wide open, as if he had seen a ghost. His throat was completely broken, and he couldn't be more dead. He must have been killed by a beast. Li Jixing looked around cautiously. But there's not much blood. Lin Feng looked carefully. Yes. Li Jixing bent down and took out the ring on the young man's hand. He looked at it and said, if he killed him, there's no reason why he didn't take his storage ring. While they were talking, whoosh, 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 there was a sound in the air. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He looked straight ahead and saw more than a dozen human experts wearing the same armor and boots rushing toward him. Every human powerhouse had a blue crescent moon on their forehead. It was like a totem, a symbol of their status. They were human beings. Real human beings. They had black hair, yellow skin and huaxia faces. Lin Feng and Li Jixing were pleasantly surprised. They thought it would take them a long time to leave the mountain range, and they would have to go through a lot of dangers. They didn't expect to see people from Planet Nemo in the blink of an eye. They felt as if they had met their family in a foreign country. Han Liang. How could this be? Brother Han Liang. More than 10 human overlords arrived in an instant. They surrounded the dead Blue Moon youth. Their faces were filled with shock and sadness. A silver-haired man sighed and shook his head. There was also a beautiful young girl who was around 28 years old. She lay on the chest of the Blue Moon youth and cried. Her cries were heart-wrenching. Oh no! Lin Feng immediately realized what was going on. The dozen or so human experts who had arrived all looked over with sharp and furious eyes. It was mixed with fear, grief, anger, and questioning. Who are you? It was a stout man with a giant axe on his back. His arms were thicker than his thighs, and there wasn't a blue crescent moon on his forehead, but a crescent moon. He looked over and his eyes shone brightly. Before Lin Feng and Li Jixing could reply, the giant axe fell from the man's hand. The sharp edge of the axe gave out a dazzling cold light. The stout man pointed it at them and said angrily, Speak! Why did you kill a member of the Blue Moon clan? Senior, you've misunderstood, Lin Feng said. Misunderstood? The stout man. Beside him was a handsome man from the Blue Moon clan. He also had a blue half-moon on his forehead. With a clang, he unsheathed his broadsword. His gaze was sharp as he pointed at Li Jixing, Han Liang's storage ring. How? Li Jixing stared blankly at the storage ring in his hand. I'm going to kill all of you. The Blue Moon girl bit her cherry lips as tears rolled down her cheeks. A pair of big red eyes fiercely pulled out a long sword, and without any explanation, thrust it straight at him. Lin Feng's 9 Serenity Thunder Blade fell. His Saint Chi condensed and blocked the longsword of the Blue Moon clan. Clang! The two weapons clashed. The intense collision didn't happen. The longsword of the Blue Moon clan broke in the middle and turned into countless sword silks that went around the 9 Serenity Thunderblade. It was very strange. Dozens of sword silks went straight for Lin Feng's chest. The Blue Moon clan's girl wasn't any weaker than Lin Feng. Roar! A golden dragon appeared behind Lin Feng. Endless Saint Chi went straight for the sword silks. Lin Feng reacted quickly. Dark Saint Chi flowed quickly. His right hand was sealed and he punched out with his left fist. The profound meaning of darkness was heavy. It was a close call. Bang! The Saint Chi stopped the attack of the Blue Moon clan's sword silks for a moment. The profound meaning of darkness rushed over and blocked Lin Feng. He didn't gain any advantage. His left hand felt like it was pierced by dozens of sword silks. Pain pierced his heart, but the heavy fist force also exploded with power. The Blue Moon clan's girl grunted and stepped back. With one strike, Lin Feng was at a disadvantage. Instantly, whoosh, 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 the Blue Moon clan's people spread out and surrounded Lin Feng and the girl. There were more than 10 Blue Moon clan's people. None of them were weaker than the girl. The two who spoke just now were a short, strong man and a man with a broadsword. They were stronger than the rest. Lin Feng's heart sank. This time, they were in big trouble. Seniors, we've just arrived as well. Li Jixing then threw the storage ring in his hand over. This brother Han Liang was already dead before we came. Slap. The man with a broadsword took the storage ring and snorted. Why should we believe you? This. Li Jixing was speechless. It was you who killed brother Han Liang. The Blue Moon clan's girl bit her lip until it bled. She said angrily, if he was killed by a beast, why is there no blood on his body? Why is it so intact? Everyone's eyes turned colder. Lin Feng was also in a dilemma. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I've implicated you, brother Lin. Li Jixing sighed. He wanted to find the human race, but he didn't expect to see such a scene. It's not your fault. Lin Feng shook his head, and his gaze swept past everyone before descending onto the short and robust man in the lead. Senior, can you calm down and listen to Junior's explanation? If we take revenge wrongly, causing pain to those close to us and delight the enemy, and allowing the true culprit to get away scot-free, brother Han Liang will surely die with everlasting regret. The short, strong man said in a deep voice, Speak. Lin Feng nodded. He explained everything from the beginning to the end. Regardless of whether they believed him or not, he had to say what needed to be said. This is what happened, Lin Feng said. Accidentally entered the forest and saw Han Liang's body? The broadsword man said coldly, Why don't you make up a better story? Do you know where you are? Let me ask you, where did you come from? Did you fall from the sky? Nonsense. Lin Feng frowned. Don't believe him. Yes, kill him and avenge brother Han Liang. He's definitely not a good person. Everyone was burning with anger. They looked at Lin Feng and Li Jixing with hatred and anger in their eyes. Suddenly, maybe you didn't kill Han Liang. The silver-haired man who had been examining the body walked out. His hair was white and his eyes were full of pain. He held a translucent moon agate in his hand. Lin Feng's face relaxed. Looking at the translucent moon agate in the man's hand, Lin Feng felt familiar. It seemed to be Lin Feng's face suddenly changed. Isn't it familiar? The silver-haired man laughed bitterly and raised the translucent moon agate. This is my daughter's jade talisman of life. The two of them can sense each other. My daughter went missing half a year ago, and there's been no news of her ever since. So she was really killed. You deranged murderer, today is the day you die. The silver-haired man roared in grief and indignation. He was so angry that his hair stood on end, and the blue moon on his forehead suddenly shone brightly. Boom! All the members of the Blue Moon clan were filled with killing intent. Chapter 383. A Blue Full Moon. There were 15 Blue Moon clansmen and 12 crescent moons. Only the Short Man and the Broadsword Man were half moons. However, the silver-haired man with white sideburns was a full moon. His aura was weak and inconspicuous before. However, his current outburst was terrifying. Compared to the Short Man, the Broadsword Man was more than 10 times scarier. His clenched fists were surging with killing intent as though he could shatter a mountain. In front of him, the other Blue Moon clansmen seemed so insignificant. They found it hard to move, be it Lin Feng or Li Jixing, because this ordinary-looking silver-haired man was an out-and-out, a perfect human. Brain expanse, 100%. Disaster, fate. Lin Feng never expected that the translucent, moon-like blue agate in the Sickle Fiend's storage ring would become evidence of his crime. Of all the items in the Sickle Fiend's storage ring, only this agate looked the most valuable and attractive. Who would have thought? Everything seemed to be destined. Lin Feng glanced at Li Jixing. The latter didn't show any fear. Since he entered Planet Nemo, he was prepared to die. However, he didn't expect that he would die at the hands of humans instead of demons and demons. It was an injustice. However, this was reality, an unimaginable reality. Lin Feng took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He was doomed to fail in today's battle. However, as long as there was a chance, he wouldn't miss it. Even if he died, he would die with dignity. Senior, whether you believe it or not, I obtained this ring from killing a demon expert. Lin Feng looked straight at the silver-haired man. There was no fear in his eyes. He didn't back down. Do you think I will believe you? The silver-haired man's killing intent surged. He held a grudge as he pointed at the dead Blue Moon youth. Once might be a coincidence, but twice it can't be a coincidence. Don't treat us Blue Moon clansmen as fools. You say you were wronged and that it was a coincidence. Sure, let's see if the heavens will help you. The silver-haired man pointed at the sky. In an instant, he pointed at the stout man and the broadsword man. Lan Pengpeng, Lan Yu, if you can win against either one of them, I will let you go. The surrounding people roared and jeered, full of contempt and disdain. The 15 experts of the Blue Moon clan were filled with killing intent. Lin Feng didn't say anything. He looked at the short and stout man, Lan Pengpeng, and the broadsword man, Lan Yu. The strength of the two was clearly visible. According to the human strength standards of the dark demon world, they were at the level of warrior chieftain. Back then, he had been defeated by intermediate warrior He Dan. Today, although he had reached the 5th stage of the titanium grade, Lin Feng was well aware of his own strength. He was almost on par with He Dan, or at most slightly stronger. If it was an advanced warrior, there might still be hope. But at the warrior commander level, just like the cowherd in the 3rd stage of the Canary Bridge, it was impossible to win. I choose him. Lin Feng pointed at the broadsword man, Lan Yu. It was a one-on-one battle. It seemed fair, but in reality, there was a huge gap in strength between them. Could he win? He was afraid that the probability was less than 1 in 10,000. Lin Feng looked at the broadsword man, Lan Yu. Facing this opponent whose strength was equal to the cowherd in the 3rd stage of the Canary Bridge, he didn't have the slightest confidence. But he had no choice. It was better than facing the silver-haired man. It was a battle without any suspense, including Lan Yu himself. Holding the broadsword in his hand, his eyes were full of disdain and contempt. His handsome face seemed to be hiding something. Kill him! Avenge brother Han Liang! And our little sister Zhiro, kill this heartless beast! The Blue Moon clan gritted their teeth. Their anger soared. At present, they had already regarded Lin Feng as the enemy who killed their father. Especially Lan Zhiro, who went missing half a year ago, was the beloved little sister of the Blue Moon clan, a beautiful flower in the clan. Lan Yu held the broadsword in his hand and pointed at Lin Feng. Come. I'll let you attack first. His words were full of disdain and provocation. Fight. Lin Feng didn't have a way out. In life, there were many obstacles that couldn't be crossed. But if he didn't even have the courage to try, then he wasn't a man. And Lin Feng believed that opportunities could be created. Even if he knew it was impossible, he would still do it. Lin Feng's blood boiled. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade seemed to have sensed its master's state of mind and hummed. The blade had a spirit. The 9 Serenity Thunderblade was deeply imprinted with Xiang Yu's mark. Even if Xiang Yu died, the 9 Serenity Thunderblade still remembered its master. This was a mark in its bones that could never be erased. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to see Senior Xiang Yu. He saw him at the end of his road and saw the 9 Serenity Thunderblade's decisive attack. The blade in his hand was perfectly aligned with his heart. With the Overlord's battle power activated, Lin Feng's strength instantly skyrocketed. Boom! Dark Holy Qi activated the Purple Thunder Blade technique. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. If he still hid his strength now, it would be really stupid. Facing a warrior commander rank expert, the only thing he had to do was to use all his strength in the first move. Because, at this time, the opponent still looked down on him. Zap! 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 Lin Feng's body was changing. Enduring the intense pain, this was the first time he used his own body after leaving the extreme titanium grade space. Titanium grade body, level 5. Lin Feng's muscles were about to explode. The cells in his body were dividing rapidly, his blood was circulating faster, and his bones were strengthening rapidly. Endless holy qi poured into his body, perfectly controlling the flow of titanium elements. It was distributed to every corner of his body, forming a perfect diagram of veins, forming a cycle. Pa, pa. Lin Feng's strength increased rapidly. 10 times. It was more than the crane pellet that day, and more than what he could bear. The change in Lin Feng's aura caused the silver-haired man's face to congeal slightly. The short and sturdy Lan Pingping's eyes burned with passion, wishing that he was the one fighting. Lan Yu, holding the broadsword in his hand, also slightly tightened. He also felt a trace of threat. Purring! Lin Feng's explosive speed was extremely fast. His body flashed with titanium-grade light. One layer after another, titanium-grade elements formed dense lines, instantly condensing on the outside of his skin, perfect and flawless. There was an additional layer of silver light, an additional layer of illusory crystal armor. Lan Yu was slightly surprised. Whoosh! Lin Feng took the initiative to attack. Astonishing power roared and clanged as it drove Lin Feng's blade. The heavens and earth rumbled as the dark ball of light in his body spun rapidly. The dense dark holy aura turned into layers of heavy pressure that went straight for Lan Yu. As Lin Feng approached, the gravity pressure became heavier and heavier. Profound meaning of darkness, heavy. Damn it! Lan Yu was a little annoyed at this moment, but under the circumstances of not knowing the opponent's strength, he was too careless. But, at this point, regret was useless. The broadsword in his hand flashed a ray of light, and the sky-blue aurora condensed in front of him, like water and light like a mirror. Profound meaning of true expansion, sky-blue aurora. Chapter 384. Everyone held their breath. They stared at the two people in the field. Their angry expressions changed slightly and became a little serious, including the silver-haired man. Come on, Brother Lin, Li Jixing said secretly. Although he could see that Lin Feng's strength was inferior to his opponent's, but, no matter what, he trusted Lin Feng. Because they were companions. The dark holy qi triggered the lightning. In the 9 Serenity's Thunderblade, the image of the Nether appeared behind Lin Feng. The silver-haired man, who had been calm, lost his composure. Nether holy qi? He can combine dark holy qi and thunder holy qi. How is that possible? Nether holy qi. Lin Feng didn't know because this wasn't his strength. But he could exert its power. Because it existed. Clang! Clang! The 9 secluded thunder saber flashed with a strange light. The blue aurora condensed on the saber's body, and its speed was extremely fast. However, to his surprise, before Lin Feng's blade had even landed, a terrifying power had already descended in front of him. A blood-red bird like a phoenix pierced the defense like a needle. In the sonorous sound, the golden dragon roared. The top-level holy treasure, the soul-severing four-color square. All was fair in war. The third level of the true dragon holy power was Lin Feng's trump card. Although he could only use the first color of the soul-severing four-color square, with the enhancement of the true dragon holy power, the power was different. Chi. 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 Lan Yu reacted quickly. The moment the defense broke, the sky-blue aurora went straight to the fiery bird. Bang! Bang! In the collision of power, the fiery bird couldn't win by surprise, and its light dimmed instantly. But it was enough. Lin Feng didn't expect this sneak attack to succeed. As long as he could make Lan Yu lose his defense, even if it was only for a moment, it would be worth it. The power of the Nine Serenities Thunderblade was fully unleashed. The Nether Holy Chi combined with the Dark Holy Chi and the Blue Thunder Holy Chi. It triggered the powerful power hidden deep in the Nine Serenities Thunderblade. Boom! The seventh strike, raging thunder, tore the sky and cracked the earth. It was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Compared to the defensive counterattack of the eighth move, its power was monstrous. The seventh strike was all about speed, using speed to erupt with absolute power. Overflowing tyranny, Lin Feng vented the obsession in his heart. He quickly made a move in order to cooperate with the soul-severing four-colored cube to attack the enemy's weak points. Xiaoxiang sword. Lan Yu's swordsmanship was extremely gentle. After breaking Lin Feng's sneak attack and defending against Lin Feng's tyrannical attack, the broadsword in Lan Yu's hand turned into ripples, fully displaying the profoundness of his sword moves. The seemingly ordinary sword move contained the profound meaning of Aurora. Lan Yu's strength was not inferior to Lan Pingping's. Moreover, he was better at defending. If he was allowed to attack, that would be his weakness. Saber against sword. Netherworld versus Aurora. Domineering versus feminine. Even though Lan Yu had lost the initiative, his defense was still solid and impenetrable. Lan Yu's handsome face flashed with a trace of gloominess. Facing Lin Feng's fierce and tyrannical attack, Lan Yu retreated and blocked at the same time. Clang! 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 Streaks of sky-blue aurora converged. The ripples dispersed Lin Feng's power. The profoundness of his sword was amazing. Until Lin Feng was exhausted, suddenly, sky-blue aurora made a chi-chi sound. Xiao! 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 4 streaks of crystal light consecutively. They instantly penetrated Lin Feng's body from 4 directions. Lan Yu's fingers were like puppet threads controlling them. Sky-blue aurora was extremely demonic. Li Jixing opened his eyes wide and was completely stunned. He did not expect his opponent's attack to be so insidious. His sword was actually a defense? His finger was the venomous snake hibernating in the dark. Die! Lan Yu's lips curved into a cold smile. The broadsword in his hand instantly changed from defense to offense. Explode! Pung! 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 The sky exploded. Blood splattered everywhere. The aurora penetrated his body, seeping into his bone marrow, cells, and skin. Lin Feng's body was full of bloody holes. He opened his eyes wide. He had truly witnessed the strength of the Nemo planet's human experts. In one move, they had broken 2 of his attacks. Their counterattack was all-pervasive and extremely tricky. The sharp pain attacked his heart. Lin Feng's blood flowed like a stream. It was extremely tragic. The disparity in strength was simply not on the same level. But it aroused the stubbornness in Lin Feng's heart. He was never willing to admit defeat. He would never give up. Only the weak would accept their fate. The strong would never yield to fate, even if they were to die. As long as life was not extinguished, the challenge would not be extinguished. Sacred scale. Lin Feng's eyes were blood-red. The dark crystal armor on his body was almost torn apart. The flying sword in midair shot out. Lin Feng stepped on it, borrowing the power of the flying sword. He exhausted the powerful inertia. His blood-stained body was completely injured. The severity of his injuries was too horrible to look at. However, Lin Feng's fighting spirit did not weaken at all. He wanted to fight. He would never admit defeat. It was not the end yet. There was still a chance. The surroundings were silent. Even the silver-haired man's eyes were flashing. Even if they were on opposite sides, even if they were enemies and not friends, at this moment, his heart was still shocked. Li Jiexing stared at Lin Feng. His body trembled slightly. At this moment, he finally understood why he was not as good as Lin Feng and why he was overtaken. Heart. He had lost a heart. Unyielding and unyielding, the heart of an expert that would never give up. Humph! Lan Yu's face was full of disdain. Stupid. You want to win against me? In your next life. Go to hell and seek revenge. The broadsword in his hand rippled again. His eyes were shining brightly. Lan Yu was full of confidence in his defense. But this time, he felt that the human in front of him was somewhat different. Lin Feng was changing. The absolute death situation aroused Lin Feng's fighting spirit. Senior Xiang Yu's figure appeared in his mind. The memory that he had imparted to him in the Saint Crystal Array was extremely clear. He did not need to comprehend it. It was as if it was a part of his strength. At this moment, Lin Feng finally understood the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique. Senior Xiang Yu had also created it in a desperate situation that day. It was a perfect match. The saber intent was like the heart, and the heart was like the saber intent. Lin Feng had been practicing the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique for some time. He had already memorized the shape of the saber. The saber intent had also been revealed when he comprehended the 8th move. Now, the saber intent of the 9th move was clear in his eyes. Lin Feng's thunder saber hummed. The image of the netherworld flashed again. Boom! Rumble! The extreme power was activated crazily. This was his last attack. If he did not succeed, he would die. The dark ball of light in Lin Feng's body was activated crazily. He had already thrown caution to the wind. The image of the netherworld was completely ferocious. The thunder ball emerged from the tip of the saber and grew crazily. It was like a small sun. However, it was not the blue thunder holy chi that flashed. Instead, it was the dark holy chi that was activated by the image of the netherworld. The 5th level. With the activation of the 5th level of dark holy chi, the 9 Serenity's thunder saber shook violently. The tip of the saber shed a layer like a tortoise shell. It was pitch black and bright. However, Lin Feng did not notice the changes in the 9 Serenity's thunder saber at all. In front of him, only the opponent in front of him was using the strongest overlord battle power to activate the rolling thunder. The thunder covered the entire sky. The 9th move, Divine Thunder Demon Shocking Heavenly Wrath. To be continued. Chapter 385. Genius 1 Second Remember Network, providing you with wonderful reading. Boom! Boom! The strongest attack came crashing down. Lan Yu's expression changed. He blocked the attack with the broadsword in his hand. The Shao Xiang sword technique was activated, and the water rippled. However, the berserk lightning energy mixed with the boundless saber energy smashed over like a wave, one after another, continuously destroying his defense. Set up, destroy. Set up, destroy again. Sky Blue Aurora, Shao Xiang sword technique combine. Lan Yu's face was pale. He condensed his strongest defense, and the broadsword in his hand activated the sword essence, which intertwined with the sky blue aurora. As the sword danced, the aurora gathered. However, he was still one step too slow. Lin Feng's blade had exceeded his absolute defense. Bang! Like a broken mirror, Lan Yu's sky blue aurora flashed past, and his chest was shaken. Puff! His armor was dented, and Lan Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. He retreated dozens of steps before he could stand still. His face was pale, and his right hand that was holding the sword was dangling. He was injured. Lan Yu's eyes were gloomy, and the shock turned into humiliation and anger. Everyone was deeply shocked by this. They stared blankly at the human youth, who was standing upright like a man made of blood. His feet were completely dented, supporting his body. He held the hilt of his saber tightly, and a saber that emitted a ruthless aura was inserted into the ground. Dust flew, and the air in the sky was turbulent. The whole earth had a desolate and vicissitude feeling. Drip, drip. Lin Feng was bathed in blood. His consciousness was blurred, and his strength was completely exhausted. He can no longer fight. However, even if he dies, he will die standing. He will die with dignity, and not be killed in humiliation. A pair of blood-red eyes looked at Lan Yu without fear. Lan Yu's consciousness gathered, and Lan Yu was inexplicably panicked. It was as if the secret in his heart was seen through. Lan Yu instantly roared, "You're courting death!" He stretched out his finger, and a sky-blue light flashed. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 4 sky-blue aurora shot through Lin Feng's limbs, shattering his bones. However, Lin Feng's body only swayed, but he didn't fall. Faith supported Lin Feng's unyielding will. This allowed Lin Feng to persevere. Perhaps death was a form of release for him now. However, Lin Feng was unwilling. As long as there was a trace of consciousness, a trace of strength, he would fight to the end. There must be a chance. Azure aurora explode. Bang, bang, bang. It was the same aurora, but it had a different effect. Previously it had pierced through, but now it had exploded. It was as if liquid bombs were exploding on Lin Feng's body. This time, the power was even more brutal than before. Lin Feng's body shook violently. The pain pierced through his heart, but like the 9-nether thunder blade, he remained firm and unyielding. On his body, there was almost no intact skin left. His consciousness was on the verge of collapse. Enough! Li Jixing shouted angrily. Blue veins popped out, an unprecedented anger appeared on his face. He angrily rebuked, "Do you have any martial virtue or mercy? If you want to kill me, do whatever you want, but please don't insult the blood flowing in your body. Humans, bah! Your actions are worse than pigs and dogs." The Blue Moon Clan's people looked extremely ugly. However, they couldn't refute because Lan Yu's actions were indeed a little too much. "What's the hurry?" Lan Yu sneered. "The next one will be you." As he spoke, the sky-blue aurora shot out again. It directly hit Lin Feng's body. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of an explosion resounded. Li Jixing's face was cold. He didn't care that he was like a fish on the chopping block. "Are you afraid and don't dare to come closer?" Lan Yu's face changed. Just as he was about to speak, suddenly, boom, boom, boom. The mountain rocks cracked, and the entire mountain range was shaking. Li Jixing was a little stunned. He didn't know what had happened, but when he looked at the Blue Moon Clan's people, he saw that they all looked serious. Especially the silver-haired man. His eyes were shining, as if he was facing a great enemy. It was very strange. Roar! Roar! The beast's roar resounded in the forest. Lin Feng was indeed severely injured, but he hadn't lost consciousness. Lan Yu's attack seemed horrifying and tragic, but it was more of a flesh wound. It was a form of torture and venting of pain. It wasn't a big deal at all. Lin Feng had survived countless life and death situations, so why would he care about this? Lin Feng wanted to laugh, but he couldn't because he didn't have the strength. Although he couldn't sense it now, he didn't need to. Lin Feng struggled to open his eyes. He could see dust billowing in the distance. The earth and rocks were cracked. It was definitely a beast attack, and it was very likely that it was the Beast King. Beasts had never been friendly to humans. Just like on Earth, humans and beasts were mortal enemies. With such a fierce battle happening here, it would definitely attract the attention of the beasts. Between the beasts, they had their own way of communicating. Lin Feng had seen this in the forest. As long as he could attract the beasts, he would have a chance of survival. Indeed, there wouldn't be any powerful beasts in the mountains. However, when there were enough beasts, there might be a chance of survival. As long as there was chaos, Li Jixing could use his Saint Qi of Wind and the Bloodwalker's boots to unleash his full power. Other than the silver-haired man, the stout Lan Pengpeng, and Lan Yu, the rest of the Blue Moon clan were no different from the Beast Lords. In the forest, they had successfully escaped from the Beast King's pursuit. More than 10 times. The beasts were coming. The leader was the Beast King. There were a total of 3 of them. Especially the leader, the Tiger Beast King, who was close to transforming. The other 2 were the Beast King. One was the Beast King of the Crane clan, while the other was the Scorpion Beast King. There were more than 10 Beast Kings. As for the high-level and mid-level beasts, there were too many of them. Roar! The Tiger Beast King roared loudly. It was furious. Lin Feng believed in this. Beasts had a strong sense of territory. It was the same for beasts. If not, why would the high-level beasts be called the Beast King? It was because of the importance of the Beast King's territory. Opportunities had to be created, turning the impossible into the possible. Lin Feng had always been calm. Even if he was in a desperate situation, he would never give up. This was his belief, his obsession. He wasn't afraid of death, but it didn't mean that he was willing to die. These were 2 different things. Now that everything was ready, he only needed Li Jixing. Partners were very important. Li Jixing wasn't stupid. The moment he saw the large group of beasts, his brain was already thinking quickly. He was patiently waiting for an opportunity. His eyes were fixed on the silver-haired man. Li Jixing was very clear that whether he and Lin Feng could escape this disaster depended on the silver-haired man. They had to escape as fast as they could while he was fighting with the beasts. Boom! The battle was about to start. The beasts' attack was like a surging wave rushing towards the Blue Moon clansmen. They didn't give them any time to prepare. The first to attack was the short and strong man, Lan Pengpeng. He roared and the giant axe fell. In a split second, thunder and lightning rumbled. The silver-haired man also rushed towards the Tiger Beast King at the first moment. Because other than him, no one could deal with the Beast King. The opportunity was here. Chapter 386. Whoosh! Li Jixing reacted quickly. Just as the silver-haired man made his move, he rushed towards Lin Feng at the same time. Like a gust of wind, he swept Lin Feng away. Li Jixing was a decisive person. He activated the special ability of the Bloodwalker's boots without hesitation. Whoosh! Li Jixing quickly escaped. Most of the Blue Moon clansmen who were fighting the beasts didn't even know that Lin Feng and Li Jixing had disappeared. Only, you want to leave? Lan Yu's figure flashed and disappeared. The blood-colored engravings shone brightly. Li Jixing used all his strength. His face was pale. The large amount of blood loss made him in danger. In the blink of an eye, more than half of his blood had been used. Lin Feng knew how powerful the Bloodwalker's boots were. He coughed lightly and said, "Brotherly, stop. It's not safe enough." Li Jixing moved like the wind. He didn't slow down and instead sped up. "It's very dangerous for you." Lin Feng's voice was weak. After swallowing the holy fruit, his injuries recovered a little, but he was still weak. "Don't worry." Li Jixing didn't say much because every word was very tiring for him. The severe loss of blood made his vision blurry. He staggered, but he wouldn't give up. However, "Don't worry, you won't be able to leave." A voice came from behind like a ghost. Lin Feng and Li Jixing's expressions changed. The voice was very familiar. Yin Jie's voice was filled with mockery. It was Lan Yu. Li Jixing was in a desperate situation. He dodged the silver-haired man, but he couldn't avoid the cunning swordsman. Suddenly, bang! Li Jixing felt a huge force behind him. He was blown to the side. He was already very fast, and the force increased his speed. However, Li Jixing was shocked. He was completely stunned. Because the surging force wasn't Lan Yu's power. It was Lin Feng who was behind him, beside his ear. Lin Feng's last words came. Go. This was a shout with all his strength. Bang! Like two magnets colliding violently, they instantly separated. Lin Feng's qi exploded and he immediately separated from Li Jixing. Whether it was him or Li Jixing, it was impossible for them to escape Lan Yu's pursuit. The only way to save Li Jixing's life was to sacrifice himself. With the Bloodwalker's boots, Li Jixing could quickly widen the distance between them, especially without his burden. Moreover, Lan Yu's target was definitely him. Clang! The 9 nether thunder blade descended. However, at this moment it sounded like a sorrowful cry. At this point, Lin Feng was at his wits' end. Even though he had thousands of methods, the difference in strength was too great. Consuming the holy fruit only allowed him to recover a little bit of strength. As for combat, he didn't even have 1,000th of his previous combat prowess. Very noble. Lan Yu gritted his teeth, secretly regretting it. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have wasted his breath. Otherwise, this human youth wouldn't have been able to recognize his voice and identify his location. This gave one of them a chance to escape. Now that one was in the south and the other was in the north, he naturally couldn't take care of both. Although Lan Yu was annoyed, there was nothing he could do. He could only kill one of them first. You will die miserably. Lan Yu stepped towards Lin Feng, his eyes filled with anger. Escape. For the first time, tears flowed from Li Jixing's eyes. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. His heart was in extreme pain, but he didn't turn back. He wouldn't turn back, because he knew that once he turned back, he would no longer be able to control his body. Don't look, don't listen, and don't think. He had to force himself. Leave this place. I will survive. Brother Lin, I will definitely survive. As long as I, Li Jixing, don't die, one day, I will become a person above all others and avenge you. Even if I am condemned by everyone, I will slaughter the Blue Moon clan. I will be buried with you. The engravings on the Bloodwalker's boots shone. Li Jixing's cheeks were also shining. Reality had taught him the deepest lesson, an unforgettable lesson. Without strength, one would only be bullied by others. If he was given another chance, he would work 10 times harder than he did now, 100 times harder. He didn't want to be born again. From today onwards, I am Li Poji. The 19-year-old Li Jixing's face was no longer frivolous and bloodless. His blood was absorbed by the Bloodwalker's boot. Li Jixing didn't care. What was absorbed was his kindness, his ignorance, and his childishness. He didn't need these anymore. Bang, bang, bang. The dark crystal armor on his body was shattered. Lin Feng couldn't stand up anymore. He had lost all his strength, but the corner of his mouth was still smiling. Bang! Lifting his leg, Lan Yu kicked Lin Feng away. The pleasure of torturing him made him feel incomparably comfortable. Under that handsome appearance was an extremely ugly heart. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Lan Yu laughed madly. His eyes were full of pride. He strode over and stepped on Lin Feng's body. He grinned. Fool, let me tell you a secret. Actually, it wasn't you who killed Jiro. Ha 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 ha. Lan Yu gritted his teeth. Who told her to never look at me? Who told her to be so beautiful? She deserves it. But that girl's skin is so smooth and her face is so soft. Lan Yu's eyes were full of lust. Lin Feng sighed inwardly. He didn't expect that the real culprit was so far away, right in front of him. Lan Yu was a beast in human clothing. Those who offend me, Lan Yu, will all die a horrible death. Lan Yu's face suddenly became cold and twisted. Han Liang, humph. He can only blame himself for being too curious. As for you, the sword in Lan Yu's hand flashed coldly. He looked at Lin Feng as if he was looking at an ant. A scapegoat sent to my door. It would be a waste not to use it. Now you can die. Take this secret into your coffin. The sword in Lan Yu's hand shone brightly. Sky blue aurora condensed on the tip of the sword. Chi. This time, the light of aurora went straight for Lin Feng's throat. Lan Yu's attack was ruthless and insidious. Lin Feng opened his eyes wide. He looked at the blue aurora that was getting closer and closer to him. At this moment, time seemed to slow down. He watched the blue aurora gradually become brighter and bigger. It was about to drown him. Suddenly, a white figure appeared in front of him. It was a flawless back view. White clothes fluttered in the wind. It was like a fairy descending from the heavens. A pair of jade arms gently brushed past. The blue aurora disappeared like bubbles. Lan Yu retreated in shock. It was as if he saw a demon. He used his hands and feet to escape. Lin Feng was a little stunned. But his vision was blurred. His consciousness could no longer support him. Seeing Lan Yu disappear, Lin Feng looked at the white-clothed girl. He wanted to remember her appearance. But before he raised his head, his body collapsed like a house. His consciousness gradually disappeared. Lin Feng closed his eyes. At the last moment, he seemed to see behind the white-clothed girl a tail. Chapter 387. A white tail. A fluffy white tail grew behind the white-clothed woman's back. Hua! Lin Feng's eyes widened. His consciousness was a little chaotic. He raised his hands and looked at them. He slightly clenched them and recovered a little strength. Closing his eyes, Lin Feng carefully recalled everything that happened before. His memory fragments recovered little by little and reassembled. It felt like a dream. No, it's real. Lin Feng opened his eyes. His body was very weak, as if he had suffered from a serious illness. Where is this? Lin Feng supported his body with both hands. Below him was a bamboo bed, elegant and beautiful. His gaze swept around. It was a simple house. There were a few elegant vases, bead curtains, and wooden cabinet. It was very ordinary. In the room, there was a faint fragrance. Lin Feng sat on the bed and looked out the window. It was a field of beautiful purple and red. Flowers bloomed all over the ground. It was very beautiful. As he was admiring the beautiful scenery in the garden, Lin Feng's heart suddenly moved. He turned his head and saw a white-clothed girl about 13 or 14 years old enter the house. When she saw him, she smiled, revealing 2 dimples. "Young master, you're awake?" "Young master?" Lin Feng was a little confused by this name. Did he look like a young master? "Young master, wait a moment. I'll call my sister over," the white-clothed girl said and ran away like a wisp of smoke. "Sister?" Lin Feng was a little surprised. She should be the owner of this place. Thinking of this, Lin Feng got up. At this time, a beautiful figure slowly appeared in front of the door. It was an otherworldly fairy. Her white and flawless face was like the most beautiful crystal jade. There was no flaw to be found. Her black hair fell to her shoulders. Her white muslin clothes reflected her aura like an orchid in an empty valley. It was her. As if he had seen her in a dream. But Lin Feng was very sure that the white-clothed woman in front of him was the one who saved him that day. "You're awake," the white-clothed woman said softly, like a spring breeze. "Thank you, Senior, for saving my life," Lin Feng said respectfully. Most of his memories had been restored, and he clearly remembered how terrifying the strength of this woman in white was. She had easily caught Aurora's profound intent and scared Lan Yu away without even fighting. It was hard to imagine that she was so young. "I just happened to pass by," the woman in white said gently. "How do you feel about your injuries?" "I've recovered a lot." Lin Feng nodded. He was much better than before he fainted. The white-clothed woman gently said, "Aurora's damage to the body is internal. If it isn't treated properly, there will be repercussions. I'll let Xiao Zhao continue to apply the medicine for you. Don't cultivate for the time being. Rest well, do you understand?" All right. Lin Feng nodded seriously. Thank you, Senior. The woman in white smiled gently. She didn't say anything else and turned around to leave. Looking at the back of the woman in white, Lin Feng's eyes unconsciously moved down a few inches, but he didn't see the tail in his dream. He couldn't help but whisper, "Did I see wrongly?" At that time, his consciousness was on the verge of collapse. It was normal for him to have hallucinations. Besides, how could she be a demon expert? He dismissed it with a laugh. Lin Feng didn't delve into this issue. Right now, what he was worried about was the repercussions that the woman in white mentioned. Lan Yu's methods were quite vicious. Aurora's damage to the body was no less than the dark corrosion. Especially long-term damage to the foundation, it was a disaster for a warrior. However, Lan Yu took pleasure in it. Moreover, a thief calling out to catch a thief. Lin Feng's eyes burned. He had taken the blame for him inexplicably and was almost killed by him to silence him. His death was too unjust. Fortunately, the white-robed woman appeared and stepped forward to save him. He would remember this grudge. I wonder how Brother Li is doing now. Lin Feng was really worried. His situation wasn't much better than his. He had exhausted his blood. He took him to escape and his vitality was greatly damaged. Li Jixing's strength wasn't strong to begin with. After weakening, he didn't even have the basic ability to save his life. Especially in his weakened state, Li Jixing might not even be able to escape from a high-level demon beast, let alone a demon beast commander. Not to mention the Blue Moon clan. Outside, he would be surrounded by enemies on all sides, surrounded by danger. But this was the only thing he could do to help him. The rest is up to you, Brother Li. Lin Feng muttered in his heart. Bai Yun residence. Lin Feng decided to stay here for the time being. The reason why it was called Bai Yun residence was because the woman in white's name was Bai Yun. There was also a 13 or 14-year-old girl in white called Xiao Yun. The two of them weren't sisters. According to Xiao Yun, it was Sister Bai Yun who took her in. Young master, lie down. Xiao Yun said coquettishly. I'll do it myself, Xiao Yun. Lin Feng was a little embarrassed. Do you know how to apply medicine? Xiao Yun asked. This. Lin Feng laughed bitterly. Then lie down obediently, do you hear me? Xiao Yun put her hands on her hips, revealing two cute dimples. Lin Feng was helpless. He could only let Xiao Yun apply medicine for him. He was not used to it. However, a doctor had the heart of a parent. Although he didn't know how good Xiao Yun's medical skills were, her application of medicine was definitely top-notch. After Xiao Yun applied the medicine, his body felt refreshed and his meridians were unobstructed. The Aurora's hidden illness in his body seemed to have disappeared instantly. Once a day, Lin Feng resigned himself to it. It was mainly because he was a little embarrassed. Other than that, there was nothing else. Oh right, why don't I see Senior Bai Yun often? Lin Feng suddenly asked curiously. Sister is very busy. Xiao Yun said softly. She has to pick herbs and treat illnesses. Sister always said that a doctor has the heart of a parent. I want to be a doctor like Sister in the future. Xiao Yun's face was filled with determination. It was obvious that Xiao Yun respected her sister from the bottom of her heart. You can definitely do it. Lin Feng smiled. Xiao Yun had all the qualities a doctor should have. She was kind, meticulous, serious, focused, and loved medicine. Furthermore, she had a very good teacher. Like teacher, like disciple. Thank you. Xiao Yun smiled. A doctor has the heart of a parent, huh? Lin Feng muttered. Back on Earth, his hometown, there was also such a kind doctor. Nirvana God Sect. It was a very famous human sect on the Nemo planet. Located on the Nirvana God Mountain, countless geniuses would come to join the sect every year. However, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to enter the sect. It was definitely 1 in 100. The first requirement to join the Nirvana God sect was perfect human. Mind expanse 100%. Reporting to sect master. Speak. This subordinate received news that she was seen in the Jinglan mountain range. Are you sure? Yes, sect master. I understand. You can leave now. I will deal with this matter. It was a tall and straight man with an imposing appearance. Sitting on the sect master's seat in the main hall, his indifferent and deep eyes flashed with a sharp light. Bai Yun, you've finally appeared. Chapter 388. It was a slow recovery. Lin Feng was not in a hurry. Although he could not cultivate, he could at least meditate, practice his saber, and explore the profound meaning. There were many ways to increase one's strength. His profound intent was especially strong. This time, it was an eye-opener for him. When he fought with the Blue Moon clan, even the 16-year-old girl had a strange profound intent sword art. If he was careless, he would be at a disadvantage. Lan Yu was even more so. His sword art and profound intent were combined perfectly. Although he lacked explosive power, his defense had reached a certain level. As for himself, saber techniques and profound meanings were still separate. Profound meaning of darkness heavy. It's more of a support type profound meaning. It's not suitable for saber technique. However, the profound meaning of darkness, dark devour, is different. If I can add it to the purple thunder saber art, the power of the saber art will definitely increase by a level. Lin Feng fumbled with his saber technique. The purple thunder bladesmanship contained the profound meaning of thunder. It focused on attack and explosion. Now that he could drive it with double Saint Chi, other than the profound meaning of thunder, he should be able to connect the profound meaning of darkness with the bladesmanship. Unlike the characteristics of lightning, the characteristics of darkness were more supportive. For example, corrosion, darkness, black fog, etc. Dark Devour was also one of them. When he was in the Dark Devil world, he had learned the ordinary profound meaning of darkness, heavy, from Xiongzhong, while he had learned the elementary profound meaning of darkness, Dark Devour, from Tribe Chief He Ching. However, he still couldn't comprehend it. If I can add the Dark Devour effect, the Purple Thunder Saber art's power will increase by several folds. Lin Feng swung the 9 hidden Thunder Saber. Although he did not add any power to it, he could feel it clearly. There was no saber in his hand, but there was a saber in his heart. The 9 Underworld Thunder Saber was in his heart. Chi. The saber radiance was numerous, and the saber force was sometimes slow. Sometimes it was long and drawn out. He practiced the saber in a very natural way without any physical strength or holy chi. It was just pure saber practice. However, the essence of the saber was displayed in every move. With Lin Feng's current saber technique realm, raising his hand was a saber. His saber intent had already entered his heart. He couldn't use his holy chi, so he didn't practice the saber for the sake of practicing it. At this moment, Lin Feng entered a wondrous state. Actually, his comprehension of the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique had already triggered Lin Feng's comprehension of the saber. That day, Xiang Yu created the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber art. It was the 8th level. The breakthrough was a matter of course. It was like a gurgling stream. Although it was only a small step from the peak of level 7 to level 8, his control of the saber and the increase in the power of his saber techniques could not be ignored. More importantly, his saber techniques had entered a new level. He could use the Purple Thunder Saber technique as he wished, controlling it with ease. When he executed the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber art, his comprehension instantly changed. An interactive experience. The 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique was approaching perfection. Now that his saber art had reached the 8th level, he was able to match all of Senior Xiang Yu's moves in his mind. Lin Feng already had a perfect grasp of it in his heart. At this moment, he had truly learned all 9 moves of the Purple Thunder Saber technique. The improvement of one's strength was like a small step, slowly accumulating and accumulating until it reached a qualitative change. He dropped his saber and stood upright. Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, congratulations! A gentle voice sounded. Lin Feng was startled. She turned her head away. Bai Yun was smiling at him, her white dress fluttering in the wind. Her smile gave people a very warm feeling, but at the same time, it also gave people a sense of distance, especially the difference in strength between them, which was even more unimaginable. She was so close but so far. Lin Feng did not even know when Bai Yun had arrived and how long she had been standing there. However, she clearly did not mean any harm. "Thank you." Lin Feng smiled in response. "The saber technique just now was very special." Bai Yun said softly, "Forgive me, but I have never seen it before. Did you create it yourself?" "I didn't create it myself. It's a friend of mine," Lin Feng said honestly. He didn't want to reveal Xiangyu's identity. Bai Yun did not mind and said softly, "The saber technique is very similar to the Thunder Saber Sect's Purple Thunder 7 Strikes, especially the saber intent, which comes from the same origin." Bai Yun smiled softly. Young Master's friend is indeed a genius, to be able to create such a unique saber technique. Thunder Saber Sect's Purple Thunder 7 Strikes. Lin Feng thought to himself, impressive. Just by looking at the 9th move of the Purple Thunder Saber technique, Bai Yun knew the origin of the saber intent. "Senior, you have a good eye." Lin Feng admired from the bottom of his heart. "My friend created the 8th and 9th moves based on the Purple Thunder 7 Strikes, and what I just performed was the 9th move." Bai Yun nodded lightly. Whether it is the saber intent, saber form, or saber force, they are all masterpieces, but young Master's friend is still lacking in the cultivation of the lightning mystery. She hit the nail on the head. Lin Feng knew Xiangyu very well. He was a real saber genius, and had already reached the 8th level of saber technique when he was only at the advanced title level. He had also created 2 saber techniques, each of which was stronger than the previous one. Although he was born with the lightning physique, Senior Xiangyu did not seem to be interested in the cultivation of the mystery. He was only interested in the saber. "Senior, please give me some pointers," Lin Feng asked humbly. Bai Yun smiled softly. "I am not a saber expert, so I have nothing to teach you. If you want to learn saber techniques, why don't you join a human sect and cultivate? It is better to have someone to guide you." "The Thunder Saber Sect?" Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Bai Yun nodded. "The Thunder Saber Sect is located in the Huang Yen continent, which is far away from here. If you want to learn saber techniques, there are many saber sects in the East Peace continent, such as the 100 Refining Saber Valley, the Sky Saber Peak, the Wild Sand Saber Sect, and so on. They are all good choices. You don't have to give up what is near and seek what is far away. The sect is just the starting point, not the end." Lin Feng remembered it in his heart. Senior Bai Yun's words were insightful. According to her, the Thunder Saber sect was obviously stronger than the 100 Refining Saber Valley and the Sky Saber Peak. However, the master could lead the way, but the cultivation depended on the individual. The cultivation of martial arts depended on oneself. As long as one grasped the right path, it was enough. There was no need to bite off more than one could chew. "I understand," Lin Feng said respectfully. Bai Yun smiled softly. "You are a smart person. You know what path you should take." There was a deep meaning in her eyes. Lin Feng looked at Bai Yun and instantly understood from her eyes. She must be referring to the day when he parted with Li Jisheng. Obviously, she had seen it all. Otherwise, how could she appear so coincidentally? It was said that blessings did not come in pairs and misfortunes did not come singly. In fact, the reverse was also true. Misfortunes did not come in pairs and blessings did not come singly. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. He had been through a lot. Not only did he survive, but he also met an unworldly expert. Senior Bai Yun's strength was unfathomable. She was approachable, gentle, and graceful. Just as she said, why should he give up what was near and seek what was far away? I am slow-witted. I wonder if you can enlighten me, Lin Feng said respectfully. Bai Yun covered her mouth and chuckled, revealing a rare trace of sincerity. She opened her beautiful eyes and said, "You know how to take advantage of the situation. Ask away." Chapter 389. I would like to ask you about cultivation, Lin Feng said honestly. Should I cultivate one type of holy qi or multiple types of holy qi? What are the pros and cons? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This was very important. Especially now that he had obtained the Thunder Dragon Cannon, it had become an unsolvable problem to choose between thunder or dark. What do you think? Bai Yun asked gently. To be honest, my talent for thunder is not high, but I have the heart. My talent for darkness is okay, but I don't have the heart. Lin Feng looked at Bai Yun and said, if I were to choose, I would prefer to cultivate both. However, this would require me to spend twice as much time. The path is endless when the heart is set. Bai Yun's voice was calm, like a song in an empty valley. There are no pros and cons, only choices. Choose the path you think is right, and just walk it. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. It was ambiguous. Senior Bai Yun's realm was too high, so he didn't really understand. Bai Yun smiled. Do you know about the fusion of holy qi? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He vaguely understood. Lin Feng said humbly, I don't know. Bai Yun said slowly, everything in the world is made of many elements and energy, such as your sword and armor, the flowers and trees in Bai Yun residence, and you and I are the same. Any two elements and two types of energy in the world can be combined. The same goes for holy qi. For example, if your dark holy qi is combined with fire holy qi, it will become hellfire holy qi. If your thunder holy qi is combined with water holy qi, it will become thunder rain holy qi. If your dark holy qi is combined with thunder holy qi, it will become nether holy qi. The fusion of holy qi can only be done when two types of holy qi are in the child weak. There are even cases where all three types of holy qi are combined. Of course, the risk is also great. If the fusion fails, the child star will shatter and return to its original form. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. Bai Yun's words undoubtedly opened a door in his heart, and the path ahead suddenly became clear. Fusing with holy qi. Nether holy qi? Lin Feng thought to himself as his eyes flickered. Fusing holy qi is not an easy task. Bai Yun shook her head slightly. 99% of fusing holy qi will end in failure. Especially the first time, the success rate is 1 in 10,000. But if you want to enter the Nimmo realm and explore the legendary heavenly path, the fusion of holy qi is the easiest way. Enter the Nimmo realm to search for the legendary heavenly Tao? Lin Feng was moved. Just as he was about to ask more questions, he saw that Bai Yun's beautiful face had lost its color and her eyes were deep and lonely. As if recalling some unhappy past events in her heart, Lin Feng exhorted in his heart and didn't continue to ask. He just quietly accompanied this otherworldly woman in front of him. After a long time, Bai Yun turned around. Her beautiful eyes looked over. You and I can be considered fated. With your current strength, it's still too early for you to roam the Eastcom continent. If you don't mind, you can stay here for a while. It won't be too late to pay respects to your master after resting for a while. Thank you, Senior, Lin Feng said with a smile. Bai Yun smiled softly and nodded. In an instant, she left like the wind. Life in Bai Yun residence was very peaceful. Lin Feng could bear the loneliness. Besides, there was abundant energy here. He could clearly sense all kinds of elemental energy between heaven and earth. In terms of cultivation environment, it was much better than Earth. He didn't have much time. He only had 2 years and 7 months. If he could cultivate and improve his strength without danger, why not? In less than 5 days, the talent spirit will reach the 8th stage. Lin Feng activated the 6th level of the Ruthless Spectrum. Although he didn't have the cultivation method of Saint Power, With the third level of the true dragon saint power, even the most ordinary cultivation method would be extremely fast. The existence of the dragon pearl chain made the golden dragon in his sea of consciousness very excited. It quickly absorbed the true dragon saint power. At least 10 times. Lin Feng felt it very clearly. Although the dragon pearl chain couldn't recognize him as its master, its power was already very terrifying. Just as senior brother Xianyuan said, it was enough to make up for his flaw of not being able to condense a cyclone. Now that his true dragon saint power was at the 3rd level, with the help of the dragon pearl chain, he could quickly reach the 4th level. However, the 5th level required 10 times more than the 4th level. It was undoubtedly much more difficult. But by then, I believe my mind expanse would have reached 90%. All 7 martial souls would be activated, and my talent spirit would be perfect. The true dragon saint power will form a cyclone. Lin Feng was very confident. But before that, there was still one thing he needed to do. Heaven Rush focused on the strength of the talent spirit and the purity of energy. Spiritual wisdom focused on the talent spirit's capacity, recovery, and sensing. The 2 heavenly souls had their own characteristic. Choosing Heaven Rush was equivalent to strengthening the talent spirit. For example, riding the flying sword Sacred Unicorn would be faster. For example, the top-grade Sacred Treasure Soul Severing would allow one to cultivate the 2nd color at the 7th stage. At the 8th stage, one would be able to cultivate the 3rd color. Attack power would be stronger. On the other hand, choosing Spiritual Wisdom would allow one to store more saint power in the talent spirit. Secondly, it would allow one to recover faster and have stronger sensing ability. Especially the increase in sensing ability, it would directly increase one's cultivation speed and increase one's perception of the outside world. Supporting ability would be stronger. Spiritual wisdom. Lin Feng made his decision. The current him did not rely on the talent spirit's attack. Cultivation speed was the most important. Especially on the Nemo planet, increasing the mind expanse from 80% to 90% was not a difficult task. It would not be too late to increase the strength of the talent spirit when it reached 90%. When the conditions were right, Lin Feng directly activated spiritual wisdom and accelerated the cultivation of the talent spirit. Another 3 days passed. Young master, lie down. Every day when it was time, Xiao Yun would come on time to apply medicine for him. Lin Feng was not used to it at first, but he slowly got used to it. This was because the medicine's effect was really magical. It removed all the hidden injuries in his body. Moreover, talking to Xiao Yun every day to relieve his boredom was like having a younger sister. She was innocent, kind, and cute. Young master, you don't have to apply medicine from tomorrow onwards. It's all healed. Xiao Yun said happily. I've troubled you during this period of time, Xiao Yun. Lin Feng smiled and thanked her. It's no trouble. Xiao Yun gently massaged Lin Feng's acupoints so that the medicine could be absorbed better. Sister is often not here. Xiao Yun is very lonely. With young master here, Xiao Yun is very happy. It's just that. I don't know when young master will be leaving. Lin Feng smiled. As long as Senior Bai Yun doesn't chase me away, I'll stay here. I'll eat and live well. Really? Xiao Yun was overjoyed. She said happily, that's great. Young master, don't worry. Sister is a very nice person. She won't chase you away. At this moment, whoosh, like a gust of wind, Lin Feng's heart suddenly trembled. Bai Yun, who was wearing a white muslin dress, had a pale face. It's not good to stay here. Young master, please leave quickly. Chapter 390. Blood. The first thing Lin Feng saw was blood. The blood stains on her white clothes were as clear as ink stains on a piece of white paper. Not only her clothes, but Senior Bai Yun's mouth was also stained with blood. Her face was pale and her breath was faintly discernible. She was extremely weak. Sister, you are seriously injured. Xiao Yun's face was pale with fright. Lin Feng's heart raced. Although he did not know what had happened, he did not expect someone as powerful as Senior Bai Yun to be seriously injured. Let's go. Bai Yun's voice was weak but firm. Instantly, Lin Feng saw a blur and entered a bamboo forest as if he had teleported. Senior Bai Yun's footsteps were somewhat unsteady. She was panting in exhaustion. Although her face was pale, it still retained its peerless beauty. However, at this moment, Xia was severely injured. Revenge. Lin Feng's heart sank as this thought appeared in his mind. He was completely powerless. How terrifying was Senior Bai Yun's enemy? At this moment, rumble! Rumble! The ground shook violently as if it had collapsed. The entire Bai Yun residence seemed to have been ravaged and destroyed by a giant. Despair flashed in Bai Yun's eyes as if she had made a decision. Her pale lips gently touched Xiao Yun's forehead. Sister, I am sorry. What? Xiao Yun's eyes widened as if she was in a daze. Suddenly, Bai Yun turned her head and her deep eyes shone brightly. Bang! 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 Lin Feng's heart raced. Senior Bai Yun suddenly transformed into a snow-white demonic fox. Its soft fur was like a masterpiece made by the heavens. It had 5 snow-white tails that were several times larger than its body. Tails. A snow-white demonic fox. Lin Feng widened his eyes as memories surfaced in his mind. This was not a dream. Promise me one thing, young master. Bai Yun's voice was soft but weak. Senior, please tell me. Lin Feng's expression was solemn. Young master, please protect Yun for the sake of our past relationship. Bai Yun stared at Lin Feng as if she was looking at the last glimmer of hope. I will. There were no superfluous words. Lin Feng firmly said these 3 words, sonorous and powerful. It was like a vow forged with life. In an instant, Lin Feng felt that the Senior Bai Yun in front of him had changed. The light in his eyes had turned soft. It was a state of mind that had no other desires. Suddenly Chi. Bai Yun's face suddenly turned green. A strong wind blew and wrapped around Lin Feng and Xiao Yun's tails. The color of their tails changed and Bai Yun screamed in pain. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. Bai Yun placed his finger on his forehead, and an incomparably powerful energy gushed into his body. His heart was touched. An inexplicable sense of familiarity and closeness melted in his heart. Boom! Boom! The vibrations were abnormally intense. The entire White Cloud residence was destroyed, and the protective energy disappeared. At the same time, swoosh! Whoosh! Whoosh! Countless flying swords tore through the air. The sharp sword Qi was invincible, as if there were countless experts brandishing their sharp swords in the void. Slaughter this land of rubble. You can't escape, Bai Yun. The indifferent voice was filled with arrogance. Distinguish people by their voices. Lin Feng could completely feel the majestic sword Qi, as powerful as piercing the sky, high above. Human. A real human expert. Far from the ones he had encountered, but a stronger existence than Senior Bai Yun. Don't avenge me. Bai Yun's voice sounded in his ear. He is a Nemo expert. Remember, help me take good care of Xiao Yun. And you don't know me. The voice was getting softer and softer. Lin Feng felt a sharp pain in his neck, and then his body was instantly surrounded by a huge force, and his bones were crushed. Lin Feng clenched his teeth, enduring the terrible pain. In an instant, with a bang, he flew into the air. There was a roar in his head, and he lost consciousness. I'm sorry. Bai Yun's voice. An apologetic voice sounded. She took a deep look at Lin Feng, then changed direction and tried her best to escape. Lin Feng had a dream. In the dream, Senior Bai Yun transformed into a snow-white demon fox, with 5 beautiful jade tails, but there were countless flying swords chasing after her. The one controlling the flying swords was a man whose face could not be seen, and his strength was as strong as the sky. A Nemo expert. An expert named after Nemo's star. His strength was simply terrifying. Chi. The flying swords pierced the snow-white demon fox, making a weak hiss. However, the Nemo expert was expressionless, coldly and cruelly stretched out his hands, and 10 flying swords pierced through. Blood splattered, and the snow-white demon fox died tragically under the sword. No! Lin Feng's eyes were wide open, and his heart seemed to have stopped beating. He suddenly sat up straight and woke up in fright. At this time, he was in a spacious cave, and there was a layer of dry grass below. However, Senior Bai Yun and Xiao Yun had disappeared, and this place was not Bai Yun residence. Whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng's eyes opened wide and his memory came back. Thinking of what had happened before, his heart trembled, and his body was injured again, especially his bones, which were completely broken. "You're awake?" Outside the cave, a figure slowly walked in. Dressed in blue armor, the figure was tall and straight, and had an imposing appearance. There were 5 sword sheaths on both sides of his waist, and a pair of sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, emitting an aggressive divine light. His whole person felt like a sword hidden in the sheath. Although gentle and calm once out of the sheath, it was incomparably sharp. "He is." A glint flashed across Lin Feng's eyes. "Our sect master is asking you a question." Behind the man with 10 swords, an extraordinarily handsome young man held the hilt of his sword, slightly raised his head and looked disdainfully at Lin Feng, as if looking at an ant. "Junior greets sect master." Lin Feng reacted quickly and immediately wanted to salute. Suddenly, his cheek twitched, and he was in so much pain that he could not even stand up, which made the handsome young man even more disdainful. "Useless." "Lin don't talk nonsense." The man with 10 swords frowned. Looking at Lin Feng, the man with 10 swords shook his head, as if it was a pity, and said in a deep voice, "Demon Fox is so ruthless. She didn't even let go of an ordinary human, and she still wants to practice medicine to help the world, which was originally just a pretense. Demon, after all, is a demon." "Little brother, where are you from?" the man with 10 swords suddenly asked. Lin Feng was secretly shocked. The sect master in front of him seemed to be compassionate, but in fact, he was quite scheming. Obviously, he was testing the relationship between him and Senior Bai Yun. If he spoke for Senior Bai Yun impulsively, he would be in big trouble in the next second. Asking where he was from was an indirect warning. Just by looking at the flickering eyes, he knew that the sect master did not really want to ask where he was from. It was a game. Lin Feng was a little nervous, because as long as he answered wrongly, he would be caught red-handed and his life would be in danger. The humans on the Nemo planet were even more ferocious than demon beasts. Chapter 391. Junior comes from Eastcom continent. Lin Feng said in a low voice. He had stayed in Baiyunju for nearly 10 days, so he knew a lot about planet Nemo. There were 33 continents on planet Nemo, each of which was as large as several Earths. The forces there were all over the place. Humans, demons, and fiends were the 3 pillars of power. With Eastcom continent as an example, there were hundreds of famous human factions, such as 100 Refined Saber Valley, Yellow Court Tower, Shaoxiang Sword Sect, and so on. Ordinary factions numbered in the tens of thousands. And this was just the human factions. The man with 10 swords asked, "How did you end up in Jinglan mountain range?" "I won't hide it from Senior." Lin Feng sighed and told the story, describing himself and Li Jixing as descendants of a small clan in Eastcom continent. Their home was destroyed by a demon, and they wandered from place to place. Then they met the Blue Moon clan and were persecuted. It was hard to tell if it was half true or half false. The man with 10 swords' eyes flickered, but he didn't speak. The handsome youth beside him sneered, "Chinese, just from the name, you can tell it's a small clan. Even the Fiend Beast King couldn't stop them. They deserved to be exterminated." Lin Feng frowned, but didn't speak. However, the handsome young man in front of him was qualified to spout such nonsense. Although he was arrogant, His strength was stronger than Lan Yu and even the silver-haired man that he had encountered before. It was too unfair for him to be killed by a single sword strike because of his quick tongue. The Blue Moon clan is the largest clan in Jinglan Mountain Range. The man with 10 swords said. They have nearly 10 Chi Cloud experts. Their leader, Lan Yu, is in the 9th level of Chi Cloud. Chi Cloud experts, nearly 10. Leader Lan Yu, 9th level of Chi Cloud? Lin Feng was shocked. He learned from Xiao Yun that Nemo Star's humans were divided into low, middle, high, and perfect humans, although there was no way to test the mind expanse here. The difference between each level was clear. Simply put, perfect humans had a mind expanse of 100%. Above the perfect human stage was the Chi Cloud stage. The Chi Cloud formed by the spirit of the earth was divided into 10 stages. The 10th stage was the peak stage. Crossing the peak of the Chi Yun stage was the fetus week, and one would be considered an expert in the 33 continent. Crossing the peak of the fetus week was the child week, and the spirit of the earth would condense into a child star. It was enough to dominate the 33 continent. 9th level of the Chi Cloud stage. The handsome young man sneered. If you want revenge, I can help you. The man with 10 swords looked at Lin Feng indifferently. Lin Feng was stunned. Senior, please speak clearly. Lin Feng said hastily. The man with 10 swords nodded. Have you ever seen a 5-tailed snowfox? Lin Feng frowned and shook his head. I'll ask you one more time. Have you seen a 5-tailed snowfox? The voice of the man with 10 swords was deep and heavy. His eyes were as sharp as swords. In an instant, Lin Feng felt his mouth go dry. It was as if countless rays of sword chi shot out from the man's eyes and pierced straight into his heart. The terrifying pressure was enough to kill him 100 times over. Drip, drip, beads of sweat the size of beans. They fell from Lin Feng's forehead. I really haven't seen it. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. He remembered Senior Bai Yun's last words. He didn't know Bai Yun. You're lying. A cold voice resounded. Lin Feng felt his soul tremble. The man with 10 swords, who was originally quite amiable, suddenly seemed to be possessed by a killing star. The handsome young man beside him stabbed his sword. It was as if he was killing an ant, merciless. It went straight for his throat. The difference in strength was like the difference between heaven and earth. However, clang. A crisp sound. The long sword slid across his neck by a hair's breadth. Lin Feng felt his back was completely drenched. The Grim Reaper was extremely close. Father! The handsome young man's expression changed. The man with 10 swords looked at Lin Feng. Shielding the demon clan won't do you any good. Even if they transform into humans, they are still not humans. The demonic beasts had a purpose for everything they did. Especially the 5-tailed snowfox. They are extremely cunning and are best at bewitching people. You are still young and inexperienced. You don't understand the dangers of the world. Don't ruin your future for the demon clan. Every sentence was sonorous, every word like a gem. The man with 10 swords used both the carrot and the stick. I am the sect master of the Nirvana sect, Ao Jianhui. The Nirvana sect is one of the 10 great sects of the 33 continent. My son, Ao Lin, is only 23 years old and has already entered the 3rd stage of the fetus stage. If you tell me the whereabouts of the 5-tailed snowfox, I will consider everything that happened before as you were bewitched. You will also be accepted into the Nirvana sect as my disciple in name. A sound rang out. The man of 10 swords, Ao Jianhui, tossed out such a huge cake that even the handsome young man beside him, Ao Lin, was shocked. Dad, you haven't even accepted a disciple in the 1st week of your pregnancy. What qualifications does this brat have? Ao Jianhui didn't continue speaking. He stretched out his hand to stop Ao Lin and stared at Lin Feng. Lin Feng's heart trembled as well. Too generous. For ordinary people, this was no doubt a meat pie falling from the sky. It was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. but for him, it was useless no matter how good the opportunity was. He promised Senior Bai Yun that he would protect Little Yun, so he would do it until the end. Not to mention that he didn't know Little Yun's whereabouts. Even if he did, he wouldn't betray Little Yun for his own selfish desires. As for what the sect master of the Nirvana sect said about bewitching people's hearts, that was a matter of opinion. Humans weren't necessarily all good. The demon clan wasn't necessarily bad either. I'm afraid I don't have the fortune to accept Senior's kindness. Lin Feng shook his head. I swear on my life that I don't know the whereabouts of the five-tailed snow fox. He really didn't know the whereabouts of Senior Bai Yun and Little Yun. Ao Jianhui's face darkened and his brows furrowed. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Ao Lin's eyes were cold, and the sword in his hand glinted coldly. You said you haven't seen the five-tailed snow fox? Ao Jianhui's face turned cold. Yes, Senior, Lin Feng replied. Ao Jianhui coldly pointed at him. Then let me ask you, who was the one who applied the medicine on you? Lin Feng instantly understood. When Senior Bai Yun was attacked, he had just finished applying the medicine. His body hadn't fully absorbed the medicine yet, so he naturally couldn't hide it from the sect master of the Nirvana sect in front of him. Lin Feng's reaction wasn't slow either. He replied, it was a girl around 14 or 15 years old. Ao Jianhui was stunned for a moment. Then, he quickly hid his joy and asked in a low voice, What's your relationship with her? Why did she treat your injuries? Lin Feng shook his head. She wasn't treating my injuries. She was testing medicine. The injuries on my body were caused by her torture. Bones were broken, tendons were broken, and everything was used. Looking at Ao Jianhui, Lin Feng bowed his head and said, Junior still hasn't thanked Senior for saving my life, freeing me from the sea of suffering and torment. That demon fox is so cruel, Ao Jianhui reprimanded inwardly. His voice gradually softened. You really don't know her whereabouts? If Senior doesn't believe me, Junior can swear an oath, Lin Feng said seriously. Ao Lin snorted in disdain. What's the use of swearing an oath? No need. Ao Jianhui waved his hand and looked at Lin Feng. He then tossed a pill to him. Take this true wood bone solidifying pill. It will heal your injuries. You and I can be considered acquaintances, but unfortunately, we aren't fated to be master and disciple. Good luck. Let's go. With that, the two of them left. At this time, a strange light flashed in Lin Feng's eyes.